Hey Rocky friends, Kirostyle here, welcome back to Umineko When They Cry. Today we're starting episode 4, Alliance of the Golden Witch. Thank you so much for joining me here on stream, I really appreciate it. In the previous episode, episode 3, Beatrice almost tricked Badler into giving in and agreeing with her, with a little bit of trickery, but luckily this mysterious girl jumped in out of nowhere and stopped him. Now, to the reader, it was revealed to us that the girl is actually Badler's sister, Ange, but he doesn't know that yet. So, from the story, because at the time of the murders, Ange is very young. She's like younger than Maria, and they leave her at home because she's sick. And they like briefly mention that in episode 1. So we kind of forgot about her. But the fact that she didn't come to the family conference means that she survived the events. So 10 years later, she's survived the events. The only other survivor is revealed to be Ava, and Ava has taken in Ange as kind of like an adopted daughter, but they don't have a good relationship. And Ava does not reveal what happened on the island, and it was revealed that Ava became very old and very bitter. She mistreated Ange, and then she passed away. So Ange was given this opportunity by Bern Castell to basically travel back into the past and try to prevent or resolve the murders, and joins Badler in his battle against Beatrice, or so that's what we're told. So it's been a while since we played Umineko because we got caught up with Fire Emblem Engage, and then I got sick. So here we are, trying to make it up and catch up. Now, episode 4 is actually the longest episode of all 8 episodes of Umineko. I previously said it was episode 3, but I don't know why I said that, because episode 4 is much longer than episode 3. Episode 3 is the second longest, and then episode 1 is the third longest. So we've already kind of gotten through kind of the main bulk of it. I'm excited to get through chapter 4, or episode 4, so we can get to the Answers arc, because I think the Answers arc is much more interesting. Now, episode 4 is still good. It kind of takes a couple interesting turns, because suddenly we introduce Ange and the future and all this stuff. So there's some parts where it gets a little bit weird and diverges from what we're used to, but in a good way. Now, I'm using, again, like I mentioned this many times, I'm using a mod that replaces all the artwork with the PS3 artwork, because the PS3 artwork is superior. Now, with that mod, you could also choose whether to use the original openings of Umineko, or you could use the PS3 opening of Umineko. Now, I wanted you guys to have as close to the original experience as possible, so we've been using the original opening of Umineko, and the original opening of Umineko plays for all 4 of the first episodes. So we've already heard the same song like 3 times so far. So I decided that for this one, I turned on the PS3 opening, so when it plays the opening, it will be the PS3 opening. The PS3 opening's good, and again, this is for just the questions arc, but the sequence of images is slightly spoilery. Like, it's not that spoilery if you don't know what's going on, but once you figure out what's going on, there's like spoilers embedded within the opening. But luckily, since we're past chapters 1 through 3, like the bulk of the spoilers in the images has already gone by. We already seen most of those pictures anyway. So I think it's a safe time now to unveil the PS3 opening for you guys. And especially because I like the PS3 opening. I think it's pretty good. Like, it doesn't hit quite the same, but the imagery is good. And I think they did a good job with it. So I'd be remiss if you guys didn't get to experience it at least once. So we're going to turn on the PS3 opening for this version of the stream. Hey, Hikaru and Psycho Reaper, thank you so much for coming by the stream. I really appreciate it. Good to have you. I hope you're having a great day. Don't forget to check out Hikaru when you have time, because he's a really cool streamer. And he's also an Umineko fan, so bonus points, right? Okay, let's get started. And we're probably going to be doing like a few back-to-back Umineko streams over the next couple weeks to catch up on the ones we missed. And because I'm excited to get to episode 5, so that's why I want to go through these ones a little bit faster, and because Octopath Traveler 2 is coming out next week, so I want to kind of front load some of this stuff. Okay, so let's get going. So we're starting episode 4, Alliance of the Golden Witch. The story is very obviously fictional and fantastic in nature. Any resemblance to existing individuals, organizations, locations, or incidents is entirely coincidental. First day, October 4th, 1986. Wahaha, you alright, Battler-kun? We're already on the ground and you can't fall any further than that. Fall, ha ha ha. In the lobby of the Nijima airport, Maria dashed around in excitement. Adler's uproar on the plane must have been hilarious. Hey, Maria! Cut that out! I'm sorry, Battler-kun. Please don't take it badly. What a pathetic guy you are. Even with a huge body, you still can't handle vehicles. Oh, shut up. All humans have one or two things they can't handle. Battler-kun, why don't you come with your aunt on an overseas trip sometime soon? How about Europe? I'm sure you can manage a half-day trip on a plane. Stop it, Mother. Battler-kun's dislike for vehicles is probably genetic. Oh, you mean Asuma-san? For some reason, she just couldn't handle vehicles. Pretty much anything other than a bicycle or a car. Whenever we tried to go far away, that woman was so annoying with the, not this, not that, I'm scared, fall, ha ha. Children tend to learn that things their parents can't handle are dangerous. I'm sure Battler-kun saw Asuma-san doing something like that and learned that vehicles are scary. Hey Hakaze, welcome to the stream, thanks for stopping by. So it's Asuma-san's genes then, is it? Who knows? Those would be some pretty annoying genes. That's enough talking about Asuma. Right now, you're the one who's here, right? You're right, sorry. Hey, the cars are here. Exactly 3 of them. Get in, get in. Fall. Where's the parachute? Where's the parachute? Why, you little... Hold on, stop right there. I'll sentence you to the little girl tickle punishment. Being in high spirits is such a wonderful thing. Without Battler-kun and Maria-chan, the atmosphere in that plane would have been pretty grim. Thanks. I'll assume you mean that literally. Hey, brats. The taxis are here. You can play around later. Taxi. I'm getting in first. Hey, Maria, and you too, Battler-kun, stop fooling around. You'll bump into someone. The tone of Aunt Rosa's voice grew a little frightening. When even Battler realized they were fooling around a bit too much, just as expected, he bumped into someone. Oh, sorry. Battler-kun, you guys are going in that car. You're keeping them waiting. After George urged him to hurry on, Battler apologized to the person he bumped into, and ran up to his parents, who were telling him to come quickly. With a clunking sound, the doors on the 3 taxis were shut one after another, and they departed for the harbor. As their taxis dashed away, the entire world grew suddenly dull and slowed to a halt. Voices, the wind, and even sound. All of it stopped, and all the people who were trying to move froze like the instant someone takes a photo, coming to a halt. People and machines and clock hands, even the dust dancing in the wind, were frozen. Some people who were walking froze with one leg still in the air. Scraps of paper dancing in the wind were pinned in midair, frozen in place. Then, among the shadows standing still in this unmoving world, a single one stirred. It was a girl. The girl Battler had just bumped into. Though she had moved, it was a truly subtle thing. Her gaze dropped, her shoulders lowered a minuscule amount, and she sighed. That was all. In a normal world, that probably wouldn't even be taken as movement. But in this still world, it looked very out of place. Hey Rose, thank you so much for following me. Thanks for being a froggy friend. Welcome to the channel. Then, something else moved. It was a black cat wandering around the shadows near the taxi rank. It came up right behind that girl and leisurely changed its form into that of a human. This was no cat. It was a witch. Of course, the girl was also a witch. As the witch stood still, her gaze still downwards, she muttered, "I can't stop everyone from going to Rokkenjima, can I? You cannot. On October 4th, 1986, you are not here. If I were, would stopping everyone really have been possible? Well, I can't imagine what a 6-year-old girl could do to make them turn back. Still, that's right. If you were in this place, the probability wouldn't have been 0. Whenever there's a probability greater than 0, I can seek out a miracle. If I hadn't been sick, and they hadn't left me behind..." With her head facing downwards, the witch tightened her fists. They were trembling very slightly. Hey Zerdine, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. Yeah, enjoy. Have fun watching while you work. I really appreciate it. Hope you have good luck with your work, and I hope it goes smoothly. You were sick in bed starting October 3rd, 1986, and Bito's game board is sealed off starting October 4th. You are not given a chance to avoid getting sick. In other words, it would normally be absolutely impossible for you to enter her game board. Thanks for being patronizing. I know that. I know that just seeing father, mother, and Oni-chan healthy like this, even that alone is a spectacular miracle. Ange had tried to stand in the way of her family, attempting to stop them from leaving the airport and heading towards Rokkenjima. However, it was impossible for her to exist in October 4th, 1986, so she couldn't do it. Even though her brother had only bumped into her and apologized, even though he hadn't realized she was his own sister. It had been such a miracle that she could cry. Sorry about the sarcasm. I won't waste the miracle you've given me. I'm glad to hear it. Come, let us go with them to Rokkenjima. All of the pieces are already gathered. The curtain will open on the 4th game. By this time, Bito and Battler will already be seated. To Rokkenjima. To where to where everyone's fates changed. The Rokkenjima of October 4th, 1986. What happened on that day? I'll expose it. I'll learn what it is, and I'll bring them back. As she stood there with her fist still clenched, she surely turned her face up to the heavens. A single teardrop from the depths of her eyes dripped down into the air. And when time started moving again, the two witches' figures were swallowed up by a blowing gale and erased in an instant. Good morning, milady. My, you do appear to be in a good mood. What a pleasant awakening you seem to have had. What do you mean, pleasant awakening? I was so excited I couldn't sleep a wink. After all, the curtain is rising on the fun fourth game. It seemed that she truly had been so excited she hadn't gotten any sleep. Did she show absolutely no signs of lacking sleep because she was young, or because she had the mind of a little kid? Ronov chose not to say that aloud and laughed. Instead. I really ran that battler into the ground last time. Oh, the look on his face when he was like, "You tricked me!" That was so pathetic. Even so, is that guy still feeling down? Feeling down, you say? Well, that's right. That man's a bit too trusting for his age, isn't he? Hey, Cosita! Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. Indeed. Although you could call that its charm. Ain't it the truth, ain't it the truth? Well, speaking of which, didn't he totally fall for that one last time? Yes, totally and splendidly. You violated the purity of one never deceived since the time of his birth, as well as this rosebud-like innocence all to your heart's content. Even the joy of dashing across a field covered with beautiful new snow on a winter morning and trampling it completely wouldn't even begin to compare. Didn't you take Balorsam's innocent heart and quite the thrillingly, splendidly, atrociously, mercilessly, and unculturedly go just a little bit too far? And you insulted him to the highest degree, enough to make one uneasy. Most people would be crushed after something like that. So much they wouldn't want to see your face ever again. I know that much. I also thought that if he was too disheartened to join us at the table, even though the fourth game is finally starting, that would be a pain. So I came to you, thinking it'd be better to prepare a countermeasure for that case beforehand. In that case, perhaps it really would be best to prepare such a countermeasure. I am sad to say that your North Wind and the Sun strategy gave Balarsama quite a shock. Oh, a shock, you say? How bad of one? Ito lowered her voice slightly, asking timidly. Ronov followed suit and lowered his voice in the same way. In truth, he had been crouching and clutching at his knees for some time now. I spoke to him several times, but he did not answer. I also brought him some food, but he never touched it. That is troublesome. Is he really feeling that down? It is only natural. After all, you thoroughly beat him down, milady. That would make most people start to distrust humans. Oh, distrust humans? How convenient. Let him give up on humans and trust witches. Oh. Sorry. I shouldn't fool around too much. Hey, Lork, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. Good to see you. Ito had tried to joke about it, but the situation seemed to be quite serious, so that even she took the hint and hid her laughter. Is that really that serious? Should we wait just a little longer before beginning the fourth game? Lady Berncastell's guests will be arriving, so it may be best to open the fourth game quickly. However, perhaps you ought to show a little concern for Balor's feelings, milady. Concern? Show concern, you say? How should I do that? He is feeling down, so... That's right, shall I cheer him up? When a person's heart is dark and closed off, interacting with them in a dark manner gains you nothing. Your only option is to shine with a brightness stronger than the dark. Damn it! Quit messing around! Balor-kun, over here! Croissant baked by Ronov-sama would be wasted on the likes of you. Why don't I enjoy it myself? Balor's stomach involuntarily growled at the fragrant smell of the croissant. His breakfast place was empty, but Balor hadn't eaten any of it. The biggest glutton of the seven sisters of Purgatory, Beelzebub, had waited for Ronov to leave and had them come up to snatch the food away. Balor had noticed, and they'd been really noisy ever since. Even though Beelzebub had only given it back immediately, or else throw it into her own mouth right away, she intentionally ran around in circles making fun of Battler. Give me my breakfast back, damn it! If you give it back now, I'll let you off with a single flick to the forehead. But just you try eating it. Why, you gonna eat me up instead? If you think you can, just try it. I bet I'll be as sweet as honey pancakes. Ah! Gotcha. Right now, I want to eat that bread even more than your thighs. Thanks, Battler. Be a good girl and give it here. So you resist until the end. Ugh. No way, I won't give it to you. Even the croissant wants me to eat it. Yay, yahoo! Good morning, Battler. Are you still moping so early in the morning? It's the beginning of a new day and a new game, so let's get our spirits up. She flung the door open, like a marathon runner drawn on a certain caramel box with her hands held high in an idiotic cheeriness. Vito appeared. For some reason, flags from around the world and confetti scattered about, perfectly completing this magnificent entrance. Battler and Beelzebub, who had been fighting over the croissant, completely forgot about their argument, speechless. Good morning, Beatrice-sama. I'll just be on my way now. Here, Battler can say ah. Ugh. Oh. Hey, morning, Vito. Glad to see you're cheery this morning. Vito and Battler looked at each other. It seemed neither had a clue what was going on with the other. Battler? What's going on? Run off! He looks totally fine, doesn't he? He isn't clutching his knees, and he's answering. Wait a sec, he wasn't in the middle of eating. No, he was sleeping like a baby in this futon, clutching his knees. I informed him it was time to wake up, but he just wouldn't rise. I tried to feed him, but it seems that naughty cat wandered in and prevented that. You tricked me! You should talk. Weren't you the one who played that massive trick last time? I don't have a clue what's going on here, but it looks like you got what you deserved. By the way, Ronov, nice one. Thank you very much, Battler-sama. The two men stuck up their thumbs as though they understood each other, chuckling together. For a while, Bito was very energetic, trying to hide her embarrassment. Huh. Don't take me so lightly. Did you really think I'd still be hiding in a corner holding my knees? Then who was that person crying their eyes out in frustration last time? You could have gathered your tears in a jar and called it face lotion. Shut up. That was just because I was a little surprised by your crappy act. I might have looked a little lame, but don't think the same move will work twice. Of course not. And don't disappoint me by falling for the same move over and over again, okay? Yeah, just so you watch. I'll show you that I'm a guy who gets stronger every time he's beaten down. Bito. Yes, what? Don't do it again. Huh? Why is that? So you really are weak against a rear attack? You and I are enemies, and will certainly never join forces. I now understand that clearly. So don't you ever try to trick me about that fact again. You say that, but knowing your weaknesses, Ito thought they were still joking around, but that tone had disappeared from Balor's expression some time ago. Ito felt as though his eyes were like the surface of black tea that had cooled down. You hear me? Don't do it again. I don't get it. I might do it again when you've forgotten, right? Don't do it again. Pierced by his strong and forceful gaze, Bito held her tongue. Maybe she was certain that Balor would break that silence with laughter. However, Balor's serious expression didn't change in the slightest. So to break that silence, Bito had no choice but to start laughing herself. Very well. You and I are worthy opponents. No matter how friendly our relationship, will never be anything more than a pair of enemies. If you have not mistaken this, that is enough for me. That's right. I almost forgot you were my enemy for a second there. I won't embarrass myself like that again. I won't fall for your rear attack again. Never again. Huh. It seems I am not the only one who cannot wait for the 4th game. I am pleased, Battler. Come, take your seat. Yep. Just how I like it. Clever little tricks won't work anymore. Stop acting so tough. You remain in a state of surrender for the last mystery in the previous game, the mystery of Nanjo's murder. My answer for that one's still on hold for now. That doesn't mean I've lost heart. I'll definitely break your red truth and show I can deny witches. Huh. A commendable attitude. You truly are a man like a phoenix. Don't betray my expectations. With that, let us raise the curtains on the 4th game. But before that, it seems we must welcome a new guest. Guest. You remember as well, correct? That mystery girl who appeared at the very end of the last game without an invitation, ruining my fun. You know, I didn't really realize this until I looked at Ange's portrait really closely, but her arms are so skinny, they're like toothpicks compared to her body. Like, it wouldn't make any anatomical sense if you were to like trace the outline of her body. And now I can't unsee it. That person. She says she wants to join our game. I sent her an official invitation, inviting her to join this match. Ronov, summon our guest. There's no need. I'm already here. The voice that answered Bito's call came from the darkness in a corner of the room. When Battler turned around in surprise, he could now see that mystery girl there. My, how rude. All you had to do is greet us as soon as you arrived. I don't make a habit of talking to people before punching them. After I punch is a different story, though. Oh, and what would you say? Good night. Have a nice dream. How amusing, how truly amusing. Bito cackled and clapped her hands. That was only Bito, and nothing rose to Battler's face except a bitter smile. Ooh, sure are a fighter. Battler and the girl's eyes met, and he shrugged his shoulders as he spoke. But the girl didn't answer, giving only a cold stare in return. You helped me out at the end of the last game. Thanks for that. I don't need your gratitude. You were just slacking off. I only told you to open your eyes. That's so true. Stop slacking off, Battler. Bito tried to laugh as though sympathizing with her, but it didn't reach the girl's ears. She did absolutely nothing except stare at Battler with ice-cold eyes. Well, it looks like someone hates me. I'm just annoyed that you aren't taking this fight seriously. Are you saying I'm not serious about this? Don't tell me that travesty earlier was you being serious. Don't take me for a fool. How long do you intend to play along with a witch's farce like this? I'm fighting Bito my own way. I'm doing it seriously, of course. Seriously? Don't make me laugh. You keep on drinking tea and chatting with a witch for all eternity and call that fighting seriously? Keep the jokes to just your hairdo. Well, that's because I wasn't used to the witch's game in the beginning, and I've been through a lot of harsh stuff. Still, I'm finally starting to see how to fight, and I'm getting the knack of doing it. If the pathetic way I've been acting makes it look like I haven't been serious to you, you're just wrong. Also, I read that in an interview, the writer of the game, Ryu Kishi, talked about how like Battler was directly inspired by Phoenix Wright, and that's why he also gave him like a spiky, partially slicked back hairdo. And of course, he does the objection pose. It actually like was a homage to Phoenix Wright. It's not like a coincidence or anything like that. Is that so? Sometimes I forget how old the Ace Attorney games are too. Like they originated on the Game Boy Advance, so before they came to English on the DS. So they're quite old actually now. I sometimes forget that. Of course, I know I've got to close in a lot more before I can grab Bito by the collar. But no matter how long that distance may be, it's still finite. And each game that passes, I'm steadily closing that distance step by step. No matter how long it takes, I'll close in on that witch, and I'll definitely checkmate her. It might take 1,000 years to use her phrase, but even so, I'll definitely win sooner or later. Why? Because I definitely won't accept losing. I definitely won't stop moving forward, closing in on her. In other words, there's just one thing I can say for sure. I will definitely win against that witch someday. That's how it is. You really don't sound like you're in a hurry. Are you even trying to win? Even the finite can become endless if you treat it the wrong way. By now, you've become an Achilles who couldn't even outstrip a turtle. I get it, so this is why I'm needed. At this rate, there's no way you could win against the Endless Witch even after 1 billion years. Well, yeah, you're right, the Ushimiya crest is a one-winged eagle, which, like, harkens to the phoenix as well, you're right. Who are you? It's not like you'll be struck by lightning if you just tell me your name. At that point, the girl fell silent, gazing straight into Balor's eyes. And then, like, I get it. This is like his sister 10 years later, so it'd be hard to recognize her, but she literally has the same hairdo as her younger self, so... At first, Balor faltered under the firmness of that look, and his gaze wavered slightly, but then his eyes gradually began to be sucked into the pupils that were staring at him. Yeah, and she has the same hair beads, too. Like, I know, if you guys haven't read the visual novel, you haven't seen Little Ange yet, but she literally looks exactly the same. I know it's more for, like, us as the audience, but could they at least have, I don't know, hidden it a bit better? Then inside those eyes, he saw a light that he'd seen sometime before. Balor was struck by how strongly they resembled the eyes of a girl who definitely couldn't be here. Okay, so I guess, like, he does have an inkling, I guess. Even though that was completely impossible. I know it's stupid, but for some reason it feels true to me. But that can't be right. That person's supposed to be 6 years old. You couldn't possibly be... Ange, could you? If I were to say that's right, would you believe me? I'll put it another way. If I said, I am your ally, so trust me, would you believe it? Would you unconditionally trust some unknown girl you're meeting for the first time just because she looks a little like someone you know? It's because you're such a softie you got tricked so easily in the last game and cried so bitterly. You said it yourself. That kid is 6, right? Do I look like I'm 6? If I were to claim that I'm that kid despite that, would you just swallow that story? If you say it like that, there's no way I can argue back. Sorry. That's right, I am a softie. And that should have been made clear to me after the last game. Is that what you meant when you said I wasn't being serious? Yes. You may think you're fighting against a witch, but you're just getting along with her and playing. You're just playing and fighting in a friendly game of chess. That may be a serious contest for you two, but looking at it from far away, I only see you playing around and following the rules like you're good friends. It's harsh. But as long as you're unable to win at this game, you won't be released from this place. That's why I came. I came to bring this game to its conclusion. You claim that you're closing in on the witch, but you're just like a hamster running around in a wheel. Oh, one of those. Those things that run around and around in place night after night. At a glance, you might think that running around in a wheel is endless. The endless witch Beatrice. It's just like you. He thinks he's fighting, but he's actually just running around in a wheel while making a fool of himself. This isn't a game. This is nothing more than a cage to shut him up in for all eternity. Huh. You liken my endless to something like a wheel that a mouse plays in. Interesting, interesting. Something that's endless in a certain dimension can be less than endless in a higher one. The fact that a Menger sponge has infinite surface area only matters in a world of less than 3 dimensions. In the 3-dimensional world of reality, it has 0 mass. Not only is it not endless, it doesn't even exist. What an assertive woman! It seems you're worthy of being called my enemy. Who are you? I am your ally, and an enemy of witches. Of course, you don't have to believe it. No one can prove that I really am your ally. On the contrary, it's more desirable that you keep your guard up, strongly enough to find me very suspicious. That's right. Last time ended up pretty bad. I've got to be at least that careful. I don't plan on getting tricked twice. Ito laughed in a truly pleased way, which was humiliating only to Battler. People don't just get tricked out of the blue. That only happens when they fail to check things for themselves and leave it to other people. Saying that you thought the light had turned green just because you saw other people start crossing doesn't count as an excuse for getting into an accident. Get it? Yeah, I get it. You're telling me not to swallow information given to me by others, but to think for myself. In the past, I swallowed all the magic Bito showed me. I stopped thinking, so I was useless. Adler grimaced as he remembered his many painful losses. The witch watched and laughed again, putting on a bold appearance. I'll offer you advice in a way that works to your advantage. Of course, you shouldn't swallow everything I say, because no one can provide certain proof that I'm your ally. In the last game, Virgilia, who I thought was an ally, was actually on the witch's side. Adler couldn't rid his head of that eerie smile worn by Virgilia, a person he'd once even thought of as trustworthy and reliable. So I don't need you to unconditionally trust me. You might as well take my advice as nothing more than an opinion to be considered. After all, the player who's fighting in a game against the witch is you. That's right. Saying I lost because I followed the moves of an outsider would just be too pathetic of an excuse. Oh yes, my opponent is Battler. You are nothing more than an outsider. You should bear that in mind. No, I'm not an outsider. With Beatrice and Ushimiya Battler, an eye who gazed down from above, it's almost like a fight in the shape of a triangle. At a glance, it might not look like a united front, but having a united front doesn't necessarily mean fighting together. Huh, what an odd thing to say. Just now, he described fighting with you as closing the distance, but you can't measure distance with a single eye. Only with two eyes are things visible in 3 dimensions, and only then can distance be judged. Even when you have 2 fields of vision, it's pointless if they're in the same place. You can pin down witches more accurately when they're far apart. Shooting from different positions and different angles. So basically it's crossfire. Huh, interesting. We're shooting from different positions and different angles, so I won't get along with anybody. That's how I'll keep my own position separate and catch the witch in a pincer attack. Are you okay with this, Battler? This girl may actually be an ambush I set up, right? She might just be saying something plausible to gain your trust, right? Maybe. She's been saying that over and over again herself, so of course I can't blindly accept her advice. But as to whether she's worthy of trust or not, I can think for myself and make a decision. As long as I don't stop thinking for myself, I won't be tricked by anyone again. What confidence, Ushimiya Battler. After you've said so much, it makes me want to trick you all over again, you see. I can't wait to see what kind of face you'll make when you realize you've been duped once more. How pleasant. It looks like you know my name, but I don't know yours. Tell me. For a while, the girl remained silent without changing her expression even once. She looked as though she couldn't decide whether to say her name or not, or possibly as though she was deciding on the name she'd say on the spot. Gretel. Ghetto? You are? That's my name, dumbass. Call me Gretel. Then should I call myself Hansel? Just kidding! I'm Ushimiya Battler. Call me Battler. Nice to meet you. I hate handshakes. Don't take it personally. Ah, really? Sorry. After all, it isn't certain that you're my ally. And you just told me to keep my guard up, too. Yeah, she has the Ushimiya, like, armband, too. Battler drew back his right hand, which he had stuck out. His bitter smile disappeared and was replaced with a strong resolve directed at this new 4th game. Battler, think deeply about why you must win against this witch. You can't stop with something abstract like, I'll beat her because I don't like it. Have a deep conviction that you'll definitely defeat the witch and escape from this world. Because there's definitely someone waiting for you to come back. For that kid's sake as well. Maybe there was something she wanted to say. Gretel clenched her fists in front of her chest and hung her head in silence, at a loss for words for a short while. As though smashing through that silence, Bito spoke up in a forceful voice. Good, that should be enough of an introduction for Gretel or whoever. Come, try to remember what happened on October 4th. Let the curtain open on the 4th game. At the same time, as though it had been blown by a sudden gust of wind, the clock that had been turned back to October 4th, 1986 started to move. While we remained in the witch's tea room, the blue-gray sea and the green Rokenjima spread out beneath us, and we could see a boat heading there, its wake trailing behind it. The sky was already cloudy, and it seemed that the barrier of the typhoon would soon shut the island away. There was the boat docked in the harbor, and Goda helping to unload it. Then, once all of its passengers had disembarked, the boat began to separate from the shoreline. The relatives were gradually swallowed up by the island. Looks like you're as cheery as ever, Maria. Maria-chan, you'll trip if you aren't careful. Look out! Gonna fall, sink. The long-missed cousins I loved dashed across the beach, getting swallowed by the forest path that led to the mansion, and disappeared. And of course, Oni-chan could be seen among them too. Damn it! Stop right there, Maria, you nimble little brat. Maria One-chan, whom I loved, started dashing, and Oni-chan chased after her. They were swallowed up by the forest. Following them, father and mother were also swallowed up. The rest of the parents were swallowed up. They were swallowed up, leaving only me behind. Dumbass. How long are you gonna joke around and play with a witch in a place like this? Come back quickly, Oni-chan. Don't leave me all alone. And I realize how cruel and lonely the world I'm isolated in is. Ange's future, St. Lucia Academy after 1986. Good day to you. Good day to you. Good day to you is the standard greeting used here. No matter how many years pass by, the style of greeting still feels very awkward. Even though I'd responded to the greeting in order to stifle that awkward feeling, the classmate who had spoken looked at me blankly. Huh? Huh? What's that? It seems you're mistaken. Their choice of words and manner were certainly what you'd expect from a school for rich girls, but the actual meaning was as innocent and cruel as you'd expect from kids of that age. It seems they found it funny that I'd mistakenly thought the greeting was directed at me. No, it might be the opposite. Maybe they didn't know how to react after being suddenly greeted by a gloomy, quiet girl like me. No, judging by the gazes of my classmates, who were looking this way over their shoulders and whispering to each other, it looked as though some of them considered this refreshing morning ruined. I was dark, because I was disliked. So trying not to get in the way of everyone's refreshing morning anymore, I stooped lower and entered the classroom. Almost like I was cutting through the aisle in a movie theater while the movie was running. This is an all-dorm school, St. Lucia Academy. It's not a school that anyone can get into by taking a test. It's a hidden rich girls' school, known of only by a select group of celebrities from various fields. For lofty nobles who truly wish their daughters could be raised like saints, this is probably the ideal school in which to protect them from the impurities of the common world. But at the same time, it was probably also convenient for nobles who want to confine daughters they didn't want out in public. As well as an academy isolated from the impurities of the common world, it also held excellent potential as a prison school. I was truly among the latter, and was confined in St. Lucia Academy, forced to live my life in dreariness. Of course, there weren't that many students like me, and you couldn't tell us apart at a glance. However, if we never fessed up about it, you could usually figure out who we were by watching how we acted. After all, we were always hanging our heads, with an expression on our faces as though the whole world had abandoned us. Anyway, every class had 1 or 2 kids like that, so even if they didn't speak up about it, you can guess who they were. Therefore, even though I never confessed I was one of those kids, at some point everyone in my class knew about it. Just like how the seriousness of an injury becomes a sign of status in a hospital room, how noble a birth one had became a sign of status here. The girls who couldn't be acknowledged in public were probably nothing more than filth to the others. They must have thought that getting involved with such students would dirty them as well. When a rumor sprang up about a particular student, those fastidious girls would grow cold and distant, chasing that student out of all social groups. Thanks to that, I led a quiet school life like this all by myself. Well, that's only if hearing people whisper behind my back, finding my things lost or broken all the time, and having everyone pretend like they didn't know anything, can be called a quiet school life. Even this early in the morning, I must look worn out. I can almost understand why my other classmates, who had a refreshing morning, looked at my face and wanted to click their tongues. Consciously trying to do as I should, and avoid tainting my classmates' morning, I quietly took my seat. Then unusually, someone came to talk to me. It was the class leader. "Good day to you, Ushimiya-san. You seem to be in a bad mood this morning. Were you able to get enough sleep? Is there some business you have with me? You're the only one who has not submitted her questionnaire for the class presentation, Ushimiya-san. Did you forget that the deadline was yesterday? I'm pretty sure I heard something about that last week, but I thought that the questionnaire hadn't been passed out yet. The details would be written there, so there shouldn't have been any need to remember them beforehand. I wasn't given a questionnaire. That can't be. I believe the dormitory leader handed them out to everyone. If you lost it, all you have to do is honestly say so." I lost it. I'll fill it in right now, so could you give me a sheet? Again, either someone lost my sheet, or they intentionally didn't tell me about it. Thanks for popping by, Lord. Good to see you. Hope you have fun with your raids. Catch you later. Thank you. But I have no way of knowing who was behind that. In the end, treating it as though it was my own carelessness would settle everything more quickly. Once you fill it out, drop it in the questionnaire box in the student council room yourself. Our class is the only one that didn't get everyone's in by yesterday. As I hung my head at the class leader's scolding, I could hear the giggles and whispers of people watching, coming from no direction in particular. Ushimiya-san did it again. She's just so careless. She doesn't deserve to be in this school. She has no dignity and no manners either. Sorry, girls. I've dealt with much worse when it comes to unfair personal attacks. As I froze my heart and let those arrows of ridicule pass by, I quickly filled out the questionnaire. When I learned that father and mother and Oni-chan and all the rest of my family had died, I was at the house of my grandpa on my mother's side. The only survivor of the accident was Ushimiya Eva. Only Aunt Eva. Even at the time, I hadn't really liked Aunt Eva. At a glance, she would act kindly, but even as young as I was, I could see she was somehow making fun of father and the rest, and I hadn't liked it. Hey, Meteorite! Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for the raid. Hope you had a good stream yourself. Thank you so much for entrusting me with your audience. Please join us in following Meteorite when you get a chance, please. Very cool streamer, very nice. And I really appreciate you being here. Thank you. I'm Kiro, and we are reading Umineko, a fantasy murder mystery visual novel, I guess you could call it. Hey, Sea Wonder! Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. feel free to kick back and relax for a little bit. Thank you, I really appreciate it. So when it was decided that Aunt Ava would take care of me, I was pretty miserable. Maybe it wouldn't have mattered if that gentle Uncle Hideyoshi and George Oni-chan had been with me, but I hated the thought of living all alone with Aunt Ava. I'd frankly said that to Grandpa, hoping to live together in his house. However, Aunt Ava had been very insistent that she should be the one to look after me. She had no desire to remarry, so as her successor, I was essential if the Ushimiya family was to continue. You're playing Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. Nice, you got 13 characters killed. Oh no. Hey, Gentle Snow, welcome to the stream. Thanks for coming by. I remember playing the Shadow Dragon remake. It was kind of nice to go back in the series and play the first game, but also I wish they added more to it, like real support conversations and stuff. And I wish they actually just used the GBA sprite format instead of making new sprites that were inferior, but ah well. Aunt Ava felt very strongly about the family. She insisted that she take charge of me right away, so that she could give me an education and lifestyle fitting for a successor. After that, it seems that confusing negotiations with lawyers took place, but in the end I was forced to go live with Aunt Ava. After doing that, Aunt Ava told me something. You must bear all of the glory and history of the Ushimiya family. And in order to make you a fitting successor to bear that, the rest of your life will be dedicated to frantic studying. Sacrifice the rest of your life for the Ushimiya family. That's what she said. At first I thought she meant that literally, but I quickly realized that wasn't the case. Because even now, in Aunt Ava's eyes, the one most fitting to succeed her was the late George Oni-chan. At our first meal together, I received strict instructions in questioning about table manners, and was forced to listen to her abuse Mom and Dad as though they'd been neglectful in their discipline. I also received the same strict instructions regarding manners at my first party, and my clumsiness had been disparaged in front of everybody, forcing me to endure insults to Mom and Dad as well. After that repeated over and over, I eventually began to understand. Aunt Ava didn't really want to make me her successor. She thought George Oni-chan was the only one truly suited to be her successor, and she couldn't forgive the fact it was to be me instead. So she insulted me in front of lots of people, she humiliated me, and she made it known exactly how I was inferior to George Oni-chan to both acquaintances and strangers. Surely in place of a memorial service for her dead son, or rather, she must still be mourning his death. However, that wasn't something I could endure. I couldn't possibly live together with Aunt Ava. I was kept like a pet, my life continually compared with her dead son's. I understood that even when I was still in elementary school, I tried to escape the Ushimiya house and run off to the house of my grandpa on my mother's side. However, Aunt Ava had already foreseen that. No, thinking back on it, she might have lured me into escaping. I was caught by the guards and brought back. And for being a coward who had smeared the Ushimiya family crest with mud and tried to throw it away, in a way that makes my whole body shake and shiver just remembering it. I was punished. How should I describe what Aunt Ava was like when she punished me? In a frenzy? Gleeful? I saw the anger and sadness of losing her beloved son, as well as the hatred and pain for me stealing that inheritance from the son who should have received it. And the dark pleasure at being able to let those feelings out on me. I was hit with all those negative emotions at once. Then, all of my free time and freedom to act was stolen, and I was put under surveillance around the clock. I may have lived in a gorgeous mansion dressed in expensive clothes, but my heart and my dignity had been trampled upon, and I was the Ushimiya family's slave. Its cattle. Compared to that lifestyle, the derisive laughter of my classmates here was calm and pleasant. It caused my heart no trouble. After burying almost all the fields of questionnaire with nothing in particular, I folded it and put it in my pocket. Because if I left it in my desk, it might disappear again. During lunch break, after dropping it off at the post box in the student council room, I finished lunch by myself as usual and headed behind the school building where no one could be seen. Only my time by myself could protect me from the derisive laughter and gossip. Since I was hated and didn't have a single friend, my time alone was the most kind to me. After checking the surrounding bushes to see whether some malicious classmates were hiding and threatening my time of quiet, I finally relaxed the tension from my entire body, knowing that I gained some true peace. Then I let out a sigh. It faltered, heavy, as though it was the first time I had breathed out today. My old favorite place behind the vegetable garden storehouse had been found out by my classmates, and I'd been teased, so this was my new lunchtime hideaway. There was nowhere to sit behind the school building. As I crouched near the wall in the shadow of the bushes, I opened my bag and took out a book with an elaborate, old-fashioned binding. Just glancing at it, you'd probably think it was a religious book or something written in the Middle Ages. But this wasn't a book. It was a diary. Of course, it wasn't my diary. There weren't any special things worth writing about in my daily life. Every single day was just gray, cold, and dry. In those completely unchanging days, there aren't any changes worth writing down. This was the diary of Maria One-chan, a girl I'd been very close to. So you recall, in the present day, Ange is actually younger than Maria. Maria's like a little bit older than Ange. I think Maria is what, 9 and Ange is 6? She'd been a bit strange and 3 years older than me, but One-chan was always a warm, wonderful cousin. She would always grab me by the hand and let me join in on some fun game. I remember that being able to see her was the most fun part of our family gatherings. When I opened up the diary, the characters, which were made fairly skillfully considering this was an elementary schooler, were packed close together, though they were written on every other line. Was she just hopelessly obsessed with jotting everything down in her diary? Probably not. To her, writing her daily life down in a diary was probably like having a conversation with another part of herself. So rather than an object on which the events of her day were written down, Maria One-chan's diary was written like a letter to another part of herself, telling the events of that day. I found this diary among her belongings after her death and secretly took it home. At first, I felt that reading someone else's diary might be boorish, and satisfied myself with just keeping it by my side. But I couldn't help flipping through the pages and reading through it bit by bit. And by now, she had become my only friend. I gently opened to the page with the bookmark. Sorry to keep you waiting, Maria One-chan. Could you let me hear your story again? At the same time, a very, very soft breeze blew, tickling the paper. I thought the open diary might have sparkled faintly. The weather's good today. Maria One-chan loves the wonderful rays of sunlight, so I'm sure she's in a good mood. On the pages of the open diary, no, in the world of the diary, Maria One-chan showed herself. I'm pretty sure she was 9 when she died, so her form was already younger than me. But I call her One-chan, so she affectionately calls me Ange. Ange, you were still getting here today. Was it packed at lunch? Yes, it's always packed. Groups of friends set up camp in seats, and they stay there even after they finish eating. It's pretty fatal if you get to the dining hall late. I was on cleanup duty today. I eat fast. The faster you eat, the more you can play. Maybe she realized I was holding a grudge because that duty had been forced upon me and shortened my lunch break by a bit. Maria One-chan brightly changed the subject. Grateful for that act of kindness, I responded by saying I was a slow eater. Maria calmed me down, saying something about teaching me the trick to eating fast. I read about it in her diary. No, I heard it from Maria One-chan. She was ranked number 1 among the girls in the speed eating ranking for her grade's newspaper. She was apparently very proud of that, but a little disappointed that her mother, Aunt Rosa, hadn't praised her very much for it. Then let's start our story for today. How far did we get yesterday? This far. Until you got Sakutaro as a present, Maria One-chan. You promised that you'd tell me about Sakutaro. Let's talk about Sakataro. You know, Sakataro is a really cute stuffed animal. I'm sure you'd like him too, Ange. Yeah. Tell me that story. The only time I can relax at school is when I'm listening to your stories during lunch break. I'll tell you about it. Sakataro was really, When I looked at Maria Ne-chan, who was always in a good mood, it made my heart feel warm as well. As I listened to her tale, I began to get absorbed into her world. Happy birthday, Maria. Sorry I got back so late. Good job with your work, Mama. I know you're busy, so even though you were late, I waited without crying. I was good and waited, watching TV. Yes, you're such a good girl, Maria. As a present for waiting politely, you can order anything you want today. Of course, only as much as you can eat, okay? Today, can I change my corn soup to onion gratin soup? Yes, that's fine. It's 200 more yen, more expensive, but can I change it to prosciutto pizza? Yes, that's fine. If you really can't eat it. But that's okay. It's your birthday after all. There must be a reward for the good girl who waited so patiently. Then can I have enchilada cheesecake for dessert? And then the chef's choice fruit salad and the kids' french fries. I want to drink melon soda too. I'm a good girl. I'm a good girl. Mama praised me. You're getting a little too excited. If you don't quiet down a bit, you'll disturb the other customers. When Rosa gently admonished her, Maria stuck her tongue out and eased up a little. But it seemed that she was having a hard time repressing her excitement at being able to eat out with her mother after such a long time. Today was Maria's birthday. Rosa always tried to let Maria spend her birthdays at great restaurants. When Maria had been in kindergarten, they sometimes invited other kids from the neighborhood over and had a party at home. Rosa would make a wonderful cake and snacks and decorate the house herself, making it a huge celebration. When they moved and Maria no longer had friends in the neighborhood, Rosa had started splurging at expensive restaurants instead. However, today they were in a normal family restaurant. It was also a little late in the day for a kid like Maria to eat there, even with a parent. Actually, she had gotten reservations at a fantastic place that would surely have pleased Maria. Of course, she had also prepared a wonderful cake with Maria's name written on it. But Rosa just hadn't been able to finish up her business, and had been forced to cancel. Since that plan had been traded for a local family restaurant, Rosa felt a little indebted to Maria. So she was prepared to spoil Maria a bit, and let her have whatever she wanted tonight. You never used to eat much, did you, Maria Ne-chan? Was it really alright to order that much? I can't eat very much, but I like to have a lot lined up. You know, like on a birthday table. If it's colored all over with red and blue and green and yellow, it makes you really happy. You're right. Having your birthday table be colorful can make you feel happy. Birthdays at my place were no match for yours, Maria Ne-chan, but the cakes we bought at the Fumiya store in front of the station were always gorgeous. Ange thought back to her own birthdays nostalgically. Even though Dad was busy, he sometimes came home just to show up at my birthday party, and then went right back to his company. At the time, I was sad, but now I understand how important I was to Dad. Of course, Mom also took very good care of me. In particular, her birthday presents were always in excellent taste, and she sometimes arranged for them several months in advance. Even though we always sent an invitation to Badler Oni-chan, he didn't get along with Dad or something, so he kept not coming. So when he did come, I was really happy. The birthday parties, when the whole 4-person family gathered, made for fun memories that I'll never forget. Ange's birthdays sound like a lot of fun too. Badler and Uncle Rudolph are really lively. Yay, yay. Badler got covered in cola. Maria Ne-chan peeked into my happy memory. As I sat quietly, wearing the origami helmets that Dad had made for fun, I was a little embarrassed. In my hand was a paper gun that Badler Oni-chan had folded for me, and Mom was taking a commemorative photo. It was the happiest moment of my life. Your birthdays are no worse, Marione-chan. And this is the day you get him, right? Sakataro. I was really looking forward to it. I got so excited, wondering when Mama would show me the wrapped present in the corner of her bag. Sakataro is the name of a stuffed animal that Maria was to receive that day. For quite some time before then, Aunt Rosa had been making a stuffed animal to give Maria as a present today. Hearing that it was a cute lion stuffed animal, Marione-chan had already given it the name Sakataro, even though she hadn't received it yet. Today, she was looking forward to meeting Sakataro even more than her own birthday. Aunt Rosa ran a clothing design company. It seemed to be some kind of brand name. What was it? Auntie Rosa? So, Auntie Rosa is such a weird name for a company, especially considering she's Rosa, right? So it's like anti-Rosa, against Rosa. But the reason why it's named Auntie Rosa is because it's a reference to a real-life clothing design company in Japan called Auntie Rosa. So they changed it to Auntie Rosa, I guess. It seems their catchphrase was, "I can't forgive the me of yesterday." Unfortunately, I've never met someone who knew of that brand name. Maybe it wasn't that famous. So Aunt Rosa was pretty skilled with her hands. I heard that she made some of the clothing she wore herself. So making a stuffed animal had to be well within her capabilities. A handmade stuffed animal. That's pretty amazing. By the way, why did you call it Sakataro? Actually wanted to call it Sakura, but it's a male lion, so she told me to give it a boy's name. So I added a boy like Taro, called him Sakataro. Eventually the last disappeared. Why Sakura? The main character in Card Master Sakura. It was the name of the main character in a TV anime that was popular at the time. The fact that she simply borrowed the name of a character she liked was, how should I say it, as innocent and cute as you'd expect from someone that age. Mama, still no Sakataro? I want to let Sakataro join in on my birthday too. Presents always come at the end, right? If you open it now, it'll get dirty. Hold on until the meal is over. Then I'll finish eating quickly. As soon as she proclaimed that, she started tearing into her meal. Aunt Rosa got mad at her, saying that was rude. It seemed she'd expected this would happen right away. I also thought that given how straightforward Maria was, that was probably what she'd do. So it was kind of pleasant when my expectations weren't betrayed. In the end, Aunt Rosa lost to her daughter's eyes, which were sparkling with anticipation, cleaned up the table and took out the long-awaited wrapped presents. Happy birthday, Maria. I wasn't able to spend much time on it, so I couldn't make it very well. If you made it, I'll be happy with anything. Sakataro. Aunt Rosa spoke a bit humbly, but when Marione-chan was happy even before opening the wrapping. I could really understand that feeling. It's not a problem of quality. Just the fact that it was a handmade present was more pleasing than anything. Can I open it? I wanted to wait until we got back home before doing it. But just for a bit, okay? We'll just take a look and say hello, and then put it back. You can give him a proper greeting once we get home. We're in public, so you can't fool around, okay? Can you promise? Promise. So, can I open it? Mama? Yes, just for a bit, okay? Yay! Before Aunt Rosa finished talking, Maria started unwrapping it. Isn't he so cute? Look at him. As soon as she did, yellow and orange peeked out. What appeared was a slightly blank-looking lion stuffed animal, with a cute round eyes and a white chest. It was about the size of a small pillow. It looked pretty big next to someone as short as Marione-chan, but it probably wasn't that large. From the perspective of someone who didn't know better, it would probably look like something cheap bought from a department store or something. But to Marione-chan, it was her mother's handmade, stuffed animal, the only one of its kind in the world, and irreplaceable. Sakataro! Cute, so cute. Thank you, Mama. Thank you, Mama. Thank you so much for making such a cute stuffed animal, even though you're so busy with work. If you praise me that much, it's actually embarrassing. I couldn't take much time, so I couldn't make anything that good. I actually wanted to make one so big you couldn't wrap your arms around it. No, this is good. With this size, we can always be together. We can go out together. Sakutaro, I'm your One-chan. Ooh. It really is an adorable stuffed animal. So this kid is Sakutaro, your best friend. We can't go to school together, but me and my best friend are always together at home. You know, Sakutaro is really innocent and cute and always nice to me. He supports me when I'm feeling down and plays a lot with me when I'm feeling good. So I'm never lonely anymore. Not lonely when Mama's busy with work and I'm all alone, and not even when no one plays with me at school. Isn't that right, Sakutaro? Ryu? Hey Ferg, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. Hello. At school, Maria One-chan had lived in the same kind of environment as I did. Compared to the other kids in her class, Maria One-chan's tempo was always a little slow. Her sensibilities and ways of viewing things were a little peculiar, and a little too idiosyncratic for her to blend in. Her grades were low as well, and since she was talking about everything related to the occult, her specialty, she was treated like a weirdo by everyone else in her class. If you were touched by Maria One-chan, you'd be cursed. Stuff like that. Apparently everyone in class acted like she was disgusting, made fun of her, and avoided her. If a boy bumped into Maria One-chan, he'd start rubbing that part against the other boys as if he'd gotten some scum on him. They'd pick up her stuff like it was something filthy and chase the other boys around with it. It seems the girls thought even speaking to her was unpleasant, so they ignored her all the time, only giggling and sneering at her whenever she made a mistake. Looks like bullying is the same in all eras. Humans really don't advance at all, do they? If only they just get wiped out. I'm sad when I'm bullied, but I think it can't be helped. It can't be helped? Why not? After all, there's a rule that says every class has to have a single bullied kid. That's a horrible rule. I'd like to find the person who made it and hit them over the head with a brick. Using the corner, of course. If I wasn't there, then surely there'd be a new bullied kid chosen in my place. By staying strong, I can protect that kid. As she said that, she smiled faintly. Maria One-chan's way of thinking really is unusual. According to her, from the beginning, a witch had resided in that place called a school. No, she says that any place where a lot of people gather will have a witch residing there. The witch tries to steal the students' souls through death by disease or accidents. Apparently, she sometimes also corrupts those souls, leading them down that path of evil. She says that an angel came, not content to let that continue. And then the angel tried to finish off that witch. The witch was powerful, and the fight took 7 days and 7 nights, but even then it still wasn't over. The tired out witch asked for a truce and proposed this. I heard about that one before. Until now, I've made half of the students in the class become sick or injured, but in exchange, I've protected the remaining half of the students from sickness and injury. Therefore, if one member of the class becomes a sacrifice to me and is made into the bullied kid, I shall protect all of the other students from sickness and injury. Right? The angel thought about it. Compared to half the class meeting with misfortune, having only one person be unfortunate would be much better. Then the witch said that she'd protect the safety of all the other students, using her powerful magic. If there are 40 students in a class, and the 20 victims are reduced to 1, then 19 people are saved. It's actually a reasonable proposal. I wonder if there's some theme behind this fairy tale. If it's a creation by Maria One-chan, a 9-year-old girl, that'd be pretty impressive. The angel decided to accept the proposal, so through that single sacrifice, 19 people were saved. That's why my role's important. The witch is protecting 19 people. Because we become sacrifices. Well, I don't remember ever being thanked by those 19 people. Maria One-chan's idea was too compassionate. Both of us are suffering from a very similar type of misfortune, and yet maybe a small difference in our way of thinking changes how peaceful our hearts are. So you aren't sad, Rione-chan? I'm not sad at all. After all, I'd be together with Sakataro from now on. Right, Sakataro? Do you? If I could be with Maria, I'd be happy too! Look, Sakataro says he's happy too. Rione-chan hugged the Sakataro stuffed animal, playing both sides of the conversation herself. I don't understand it, but that's exactly why I want to reach Rione-chan's level. So I was intensely drawn to her tale and her words. Ange, is it tough because you're all alone? It is tough. But just the time I can be like this with you is different. Because I'm not alone. You like my Sakataro voice? Thank you. Then if Sakataro also becomes your friend, it'll be even more fun. Then starting today, Sakataro is Ange's new friend. Right, Sakataro? Do you? I am Ange's friend. Do you, Ange? Skillfully moving the stuffed animal like it was a puppet, Maria One-chan expressed Sakataro's emotions. She was controlling him, but the charming way he waved his short hand and cocked his head to the side made it feel like he really was a new friend called Sakataro. Of course, looking at it with cold eyes, it would only appear that Maria One-chan was comforting me when I was grumpy. But a soul had definitely been sent into that stuffed animal. The soul of Maria One-chan's love. So if I acknowledge the existence of a being called Sakataro inside that stuffed animal. Come on, say hi to Sakataro too, Ange. Come on, you say hi too, Sakataro. You? Is Ange a scary person? As Sakataro timidly looked at me, he unexpectedly met my gaze and hid behind Maria One-chan's back in surprise. Maria One-chan really is good at playing with stuffed animals. It's okay, Sakataro. Ange isn't scary. She's a really nice girl. Hello, I'm Sakataro. Who are you? Pleased to meet you, Sakataro. I'm Ange. I'm glad to have a new friend. I held out my hand as though asking for a handshake, and Sakataro's short hand was stuck out towards me, lightly touching my index finger. After all, when a human and a stuffed animal shake hands, their sizes are too different. This greeting by touching each other's fingers was our handshake. Now, Ange and Sakataro are already friends. 2 people are more fun than 1, and 3 people are more fun than 2. Who are you? Rione-chan had given the name Sakataro to the stuffed animal she was to receive on her birthday, and had warmed and expanded his existence in her heart for a long, long time. Therefore, even before she met him, his existence was sublimated into a personality. Even at the first moment they met, they were already friends. Of course, that wasn't anything extraordinary in Maria One-chan's eyes, although I don't think she personified and loved anything quite as much as Sakataro. She loved the things she owned very much, treating them just like friends or beloved pets. Maybe Aunt Rosa hadn't let her keep a pet at some point in time, so she felt like treasuring objects instead. And maybe she was so isolated she'd been forced to find a friend nearby. Because of that, what happened that day wasn't anything extraordinary from her perspective. Even so, Sakataro, no, maybe I should call it Sakataro like Maria One-chan. There's no doubt that Sakataro was a stuffed animal. No, a friend whom she loved more than anything or anyone. Hello, it's Mama. You're in a good mood. Is a friend over? Playing with Sakataro. Sakataro, knock it off! It was already about 9 o'clock at night. Rosa had asked because this wasn't a good time to have a friend over, and she'd just been a little surprised. When she thought about it, Maria didn't have any friends who would come over to play, did she? Even so, to think she'd have so much fun playing with that stuffed animal. Rosa was very pleased that Maria had liked her birthday present so much. Sorry, Mama just can't get her work finished tonight. The next season's lineup is having a tough time. It looks like we're finally starting to get orders bit by bit, and I want to somehow give it a bit more impact, so we can answer to their expectations. So you're spending the night? Sure, okay. Do your best, Mama. Really? Thank you, Maria. Thanks for being understanding about Mama's work. Rosa was surprised that Maria had accepted so easily that she wouldn't be able to come home from work. To Rosa, having to tell Maria that she'd be coming home late or staying overnight was a huge burden. Maria would start crying about how lonely she was on the other end of the phone, and it took a lot of time and effort to calm her down. To think Maria would accept it in such high spirits. Is this also thanks to Sakataro? Rosa was once again pleased that she'd given her daughter such a good present. I'll make sure I come back this time tomorrow. Let's eat dinner together then. You haven't eaten dinner yet, have you, Maria? Buy a bento at the convenience store and eat it. No sweets and no soda. I'll check the receipt and the change, understand? Shopping with Sakataro, shopping with Sakataro. Hey, not Sakataro. Have him watch over the house. From Maria's manner of speech, Rosa got the feeling that Maria might have gone shopping with that stuffed animal without her knowing about it. Rosa's forehead creased, and after sourly saying that Maria definitely mustn't do that, she hung up. Mama said I mustn't go shopping with Sakataro. You can't go shopping with Maria. Staying home alone will be lonely. Why did Mama say not to go shopping with Sakataro? I'm sure that if Maria was seen with me, it would be embarrassing. Embarrassing? Why? Mama says not to take me outside a lot. And she usually says Maria can't do it because she's too old. But I'm not embarrassed at all to be with Sakataro, right? I'm a lion, but I'm a stuffed animal. You're a lion and a stuffed animal, but you're my friend. So let's go out together. Just when Mama isn't around is a secret. You aren't saying that you're embarrassed, are you? I'm not embarrassed, but the people outside are a little scary. Is that it? Then I'll make it so you can go outside without being scared. Leave it to me, I've got something that's really useful. Maria started fishing around her messy room. Rosa often told her to clean it up, but Maria apparently didn't like doing it. However, Maria herself knew more or less where everything was. So much that if it were to be cleaned up, she would have no trouble finding where anything was. Or she would have trouble finding where anything was. Here it is. Hey, look, Sakataro! A knapsack. Maria proudly held it high. Sakataro looked at the knapsack, which was gaping open, squirming as though saying, Are you serious? Maria, you aren't saying. This way we can go shopping together and Sakataro won't be scared. Maria held Sakataro up and started stuffing him into the knapsack. At first she tried to stick him in head first, but then he'd be upside down and suffocate. So she pulled him out and tried pushing him again, feet first. Tight, cramped, dark. Look, it's alright. If you stick your head out, it isn't cramped, it isn't dark, and it isn't scary. And it's a good view. You're right. Is it okay for me to go shopping with Maria like this? Yeah, it'll be fine. What should we get for dinner tonight? Come on, let's go out, Sakataro. Looks like you're having fun, Maria-ne-chan. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Even things that would be lonely and boring alone all became fun with Sakataro. Any human friend would go home when it gets late. But Sakataro doesn't go home, so we can be together all the time. He'll watch TV with me, be together even in the futon, and even hold my hand on scary nights when there's thunder. He'll chase away the monsters in the closet and under the bed. Sakataro is reliable. Since I'm a lion, I'll show my courage and chase away any monsters that scare Maria. Rawr. They were so close that it made me a little envious. I'm supposedly older now than Maria One-chan was then, but Maria One-chan really is my One-chan, and I still haven't reached her level. If only I had a friend close by like Sakataro. Sakataro and I are your close friends, right? We're always by your side. It's just that your magic is weak, so you can't perceive us unless you open my diary like this. Perceive? You know some pretty difficult words, Maria One-chan. According to her, this world is full of magic and spirits, and they're as natural and nearby as light as a breeze. You don't normally notice or see the wind. When incense, smoke, or something draws trails, you can see it though, right? Right. And even if you can't see it, it's always nearby. That's it. We're always really close by to you, Ange. Gods and spirits and guardian spirits are always right next to us. But if you aren't conscious of them, you can't feel their existence. Like wind that can't be seen with the eyes. But they certainly are near us. And if they draw trails in the smoke called magic, anyone can see them. I thought I'd only be able to meet Mirio-ne-chan while this diary was open. But from what she says, she's always with me, and I can meet her at any time if I truly desire to. Along with the record of my life, I left a fragment of my own soul in my diary. So the power of my magic resides in this diary. But it's very faint, so only you can feel it. Only I can tell it's there. Yes, after all, the power of a witch resides in you, just like me. If you study hard, you too will definitely become a great witch in the future. A witch. I wonder if that'd be fun. It is fun. If you do that, you'll be able to know that Sakataro and I are always by your side, even without opening the diary. If you do that, every day will become fun. If you do that, I'll introduce you to many other friends. If you do that, every day will get busy and very lively. That might be fun. I do have the grimoire you left behind, Mirio-ne-chan. I'll try reading it seriously sometime soon. If I do that, I won't be all alone anymore. Right? Do you? Mirio-ne-chan and Sakataro said that at the same time, happy I developed an interest in the world of witches. With her knapsack on her back and half of Sakataro's face peeking out of it, she triumphantly walked through the shopping district late at night. Well, it was that time of day after all. Everyone in the shopping district was either a shop owner, lowering the shutters on their shops, or an employee rushing or else staggering on their way home. Amidst all that, Maria, who was in a good mood like someone on a hike, probably looked quite merry. Every once in a while, passing employees would glance at her back with the eyes of someone seeing something out of place. Office ladies giggled at the cute stuffed animal poking its head out of the knapsack. The supermarket had been closed for a while by this time. However, convenience stores, which have been growing in popularity lately, stayed open until midnight. It was very convenient for Maria, whose mother's return was often late. Maria lowered the knapsack from her back, and carrying it like a child in her arms, she headed over to the sweet buns corner. She pointed to a sweet bun she had eaten before, explained to Sakataro that this one was delicious, and that one was pretty good, and that one was pretty good too. Sakataro seemed to be enjoying it a lot. I'm gonna have the 3-colored one. With just this one, you can eat bean jam and cream and strawberry jam, but there's sometimes greenish brown bean jam or white bean jam. There should be one kind of bean jam. Looks like having different things inside makes them interesting. Next time, I'll have a fruit yogurt. There's fruit in it, but it isn't a sweet, right? Yeah, I'm sure Mama will be fine with it. Do you want one too, Sakataro? Is that really okay? What about the money? No problem. Look, it's Shotoku Taishi. So I can buy you whatever you want too, Sakataro. Let's eat together. Would you like some yogurt too, Sakataro? When Maria made to grab one of the same fruit yogurt, Sakataro bent his head slightly, worried. But I can't eat a big one, so a small one will be fine. Then how about a small yogurt? It's 30 yen. That's cheap. That's good enough for me. Yogurt with Maria. Yogurt with Sakataro. Maria put the 3-colored bread and the 2 yogurts into a shopping basket and brought them to the register. The man running the register had been in charge of the tobacco shop that had been here until last year. I seem to be seeing you a lot at this time of day, little lady. You're a good girl, but maybe you'd better come with your mother if you're going to go shopping at a time like this in the future, okay? Mama said it's okay, so it's fine. Mama always comes home late because of her work, but we aren't lonely. Right, Sakataro? You? Really? Or really, that sounds tough. Here, I'll give you some free soda. The man working at the store took a can of leftover soda, or something from behind the register, and packed it into the bag with everything else. Thank you, mister. Isn't that great, Sakataro? Ooh. Since she had been told not to buy soda, she couldn't take it back home. So she decided to drink it on her way back and not bring the empty can back home. With the vinyl bag with the sweet bun in it around her elbow, holding the knapsack with Sakataro in it, with that same arm and drinking her soda, the two of them walked home. Yuzukusho soda isn't really good. You want to try it too, Sakataro? Ooh, you're mean, Maria. Nasty. Sure is. Of course, it's not like she could actually make a stuffed animal drink soda. She just put the can to Sakataro's mouth and pretended to tilt it. It was fun for Maria to share the taste of this weird drink that she had gotten for free with Sakataro. There was a huge moon in the sky. At times that moon had been clouded by tears when she'd been unmanageable during Rosa's overnight stays, and when she'd been scolded by her mother. But this moon was very warm, and it seemed to watch over the two of them as they enjoyed their trip home by themselves. Maria and Sakataro. And Ange watched the two of them go from behind. She looked so warm from behind. After looking at the backs of Maria One-chan and Sakataro together, it became very hard to remember all those long nights when she cried because her mother hadn't come home. I couldn't say it to Maria One-chan, but if I'd been in the same position, I may have given a stuffed animal the name Sakataro, but it wouldn't have been anything more or less than a stuffed animal. Anyone can make a relationship that only distracts you from your loneliness. But Maria One-chan was different. Sakataro isn't a stuffed animal or a toy. He was a real friend, and far from just distracting Maria from her loneliness, he changed the nights without her mother into a fun time where they could play all by themselves. Was it because Sakataro was a special stuffed animal? Because her mother had made it herself? Because it was very, very cute? Probably not. If there's a secret here, it doesn't lie within Sakataro. I think it probably lies within Maria One-chan. This is the power of magic you were talking about, Maria One-chan. Knowing magic means that you notice a lot of friends right beside you that you didn't notice before. It's as fun as having a bunch of new toy shops pop up all over the neighborhood. If even I, locked up in an academy without a single friend, had power like Maria One-chan, I wonder if I could make my days just a little bit richer. I wonder if I'd be able to honestly shed tears on nights I feel like crying, to smile on gray nights. Yes, you can. You can do it. After all, you also have what it takes to become a witch. What it takes to become a witch. I have what it takes to become a witch too, so I've still got a lot more studying and training to do. I'll definitely become a wonderful witch, flying in the sky on a broom, drawing rainbows with my cane, making candy fall from the sky. I can definitely do it. Then I'll show you too. It'll definitely be like a scene from a wonderful dream. Maria One-chan said that, making an absolute promise with her smile. There's no way I could become a witch. But if Maria One-chan says that, it makes me feel that maybe I really can become a witch. Because in reality, on that desolate night, when no flower of a smile could possibly have bloomed, her magic surely gave birth to a smile. I wonder if I can become a witch. You can! You're a bit older, so your soul is bound a bit more by gravity. That might make training tougher than it is for me. But you definitely can. After all, you've already touched a small piece of magic. I am. Magic. Yeah. Come on, look. In a world where I don't exist, you summoned me, and you're talking with me. This is magic? Yeah. You've expanded the fragment of my soul that I left in my diary, and you're reviving me right now. I also said it a short while ago, right? Since you managed to reunite with me and have a conversation, since you're able to smile every once in a while, you must have some magical talent, Ange. Your Maria One-chan guarantees it. You said it a second ago, One-chan. I thought I could only meet you with you when the diary's open. But you're really nearby all the time, right? If I had more of the power of magic, would I be able to see you? And just like now, would I be able to talk with you? One-chan? At any time? Yeah, we can talk at any time. I'm there by your side to say good morning and even during class. Let's talk together during dull classes to distract you from your boredom. I'll also be there to talk to you during meals, so let's always be together like this during lunch break. We're with you after school too, and of course I'm always by your side even after you return to the dormitory. It's just that you don't see me except when the diary's opened. Even when I close the diary, Ryone-chan, you'll be by my side, right? Yes, I'll be there. So if you try to see me and try to talk to me, I'll definitely be able to answer. If you look strongly and try to talk, that is, I'll give it a try. It isn't easy, okay? It isn't going to go well all of a sudden, got it? I understand. I'm sure it won't be easy. But I want to be like you, Ryone-chan. I understand. Then look at me well. Look closely. Okay. Slowly open and close your eyes. You can't shut them for a long time all of a sudden. After burning my form into your eyes, try to make it blend into the inside of your eyelids. Yeah, I'm doing it. Once you can visualize me, even when your eyes are closed, without changing anything, slowly and softly close your eyes again. How is it? Can you still see me? Yes. I think I could probably see you. Then try opening your eyes for a second. Now for the real thing. Calm your heart and close the diary. At that time, my form may disappear for a second. But calm your heart and don't get anxious. And then try to make me, that's blended into the inside of your eyelids, blend back into your eyes. Slowly visualize me in the empty air. In the empty air, see me. Yeah, I'm okay. Then I'll close the diary. Slowly, I closed it. When I did so, a gray reality filled with dull air unfolded. Of course, Ryone-chan's form disappeared. Give it all you've got. Have courage. Take the first step into the world of witches. I felt like Ryone-chan was cheering me on inside my heart. She's cheering me on. Really? Or do I just think that she is? No, that's wrong. It's because I think this that I cannot see her. Ryone-chan is always by my side. And even now she's definitely there, cheering me on to do my best. That reached my ears. So I mustn't ignore it, like it's my imagination or the voice of my own heart. I believe that Ryone-chan is there. I mustn't doubt. I believe. One-chan said she'd always be by my side. I must not doubt that, but looking at that empty space by the empty back wall of the school building, amidst those almost heartlessly boring rays of sunlight, calling out her name was unexpectedly difficult. The chains of common sense that had clung to me until today sneered at me, telling me that calling out to the empty air was ridiculous. It was almost like being told to take a step forward off a roof of a skyscraper overlooking a sea of lights. What kind of person would do that, right, Ange? It's Ryone-chan saying it. It's alright. She's saying that I'm someone who can do it. Stop thinking you might fall, or they'd be foolish to take a step off a roof. And free yourself from those chains of common sense. Ooh. Huh. Okay. I steadied my breathing. I concentrated my mind. Make the vivid form of Ryone-chan in the empty space before you rise to the surface. Understand magic. And see Ryone-chan. Ryone-chan. Huh? Is someone there? At that time, I was answered by a rustle in the bushes and a wild cry, and I came to my senses. It looked like I wasn't the only one behind the school building. No, since I'd been so immersed in the world of the diary, I hadn't noticed someone coming. I recognized a group of 3 beyond the bushes. They were kids from my class. From their appearance, it felt as though they'd come behind the school building to gossip about someone, or talk in secret. I hurried out of that place, because if it became known that I'd been alone in a place like this, mumbling to myself, it'd become a pain again. She said it, right? She said it, right? She said Marionette-chan or something, right? Isn't that creepy? She isn't seeing spirits or something, is she? Ushimiya-san's so funny. I could hear the shrill, loud laughter from behind. Irritated and feeling that Marionette-chan had been made fun of, I left that place at a quick pace, and then a jog once I turned the corner. And I might have made it to One-chan's world with just a little bit more time. It was frustrating. Aggravating. Why does everyone get in my way? I haven't gotten in anyone else's way, not even once. I ran and ran, but it still felt as though I could hear their shrill laughter. The beginning of episode 4 kind of reminds me of the beginning of episode 2, where it's just like a lot of backstory about stuff that happened before, or I guess in this case after. The world 12 years later, October 1998. It's kind of interesting to see this backstory for Maria that we hadn't seen before, and seeing her interact with Ange is quite surprisingly pleasant. And I wasn't like much of a Maria fan up until this moment. Rumor has it, Ange-chan, that you jumped off the top of a skyscraper? The group seats were getting annoying, so I thought I'd give them the slip. Ange and an old gentleman wearing an expensive suit were alone in a massive modern conference room. All of the newest machines for presentations were installed there, but they didn't upset its refined and composed atmosphere, and that alone was enough to make the business-like theme of the room abundantly clear. However, that didn't matter at all to Ange. She carelessly sat on a high-class chair that executives making a salary of several 10 million yen probably sat in, looking aloof from the world. Hey, welcome back to the stream. Thanks for coming by. You like my little Uryus? I'm surprised how well that worked out. I was kind of like, should I try making the sound? Can I do him justice? Sakutaro is so cute. We'll see more of Sakutaro throughout this episode. Hopefully nothing bad happens to him. It's because I knew they were remodeling on the lower floor and had a safety net out. Ange talked about it like it was no big deal, but in reality it had been a miracle among miracles. To think that she'd shot through several layers of safety netting for the remodeling project, been caught in a multicolored banner adorning the atrium and slipped off, only to be softly caught by a final banner, land on the ground without a scratch, and then briskly leave that place. It put Hong Kong movies to shame. Whether you knew there was a net or not, this is a 200-meter tall super skyscraper we're talking about, right? If things hadn't gone as you planned, there'd be a mess to deal with now. I figured that if I died, then I'd be dead. That would be that, more or less. Well, still, I was testing my luck a little bit. Call it youthful zeal. As though saying that she'd have enough of that topic, Anne shrugged coldly. Seeing that, the old gentleman, who was looking at the world below through a crack in the blinds, cackled. So, you were testing your luck, is that it? My, you truly are Kinzo-san's grandchild. The nerve to trust your life to chance. The chairman was also a woman who could stake her life on a bet like it was nothing, so maybe this really is the Ushimiya blood at work. You really will make it big in the future. Please, let me be blunt. Why not give up this running away from home act and return to the Sumadera family? I heard that Mom had a bad relationship with her family. I don't want to go to the house of people I first met at a funeral. Hey CB, welcome! Thank you so much for the sub, I really appreciate it. The Sumaderas are Mom's family. They're an old family from Kyoto, and compared to Mom's frank attitude, unbelievably strict. The only Sumadera I've been on good terms with was Grandpa, who was living apart from his family under the guise of retirement. Mom kept in touch with him too, but she avoided the rest of the family completely, almost hostilely so. So when I went out to play with the Sumadera family, it was always Grandpa's house I visited. When I was young, I didn't understand it, but I hear that Grandpa was in an extremely weak position as a man who'd moved into his wife's family register, and his relationship with Grandma was also bad. You might even say that Grandma hated him and confined him to the house. It isn't hard to imagine that because she had a soft spot for Grandpa alone, Mom was also hated by the Sumaderas. Since I was her daughter, they probably hated me quite a bit too. And yet they appeared for the first time at Mom's funeral. Shameless, sly, going on about how big I've gotten, like they could actually act like family after all this time. When Aunt Ava died, I would inherit all the wealth of the Ushimiya family. If that wasn't what they were after, there's no way they would have been able to say such disgusting words. Well, it's not as though I can't understand your desire for self-abandonment now that you're alone. This isn't self-abandonment. I'm just taking a carefree stroll now that the annoying Aunt Ava has finally kicked the bucket. Everyone else is just making too big a deal out of it. Of course, everyone's after the vast wealth Ushimiya wealth I bear. They must think that becoming my guardian means they'll be able to do as they please with that wealth. Just how many people have tried to get close to me, acting like they want to be a substitute parent? If you ever find you're hurting, please talk with me if it'll help, okay? After all, I think of you as my own grandchild, Anshan. Huh. I'll say no thank you for now. More importantly, let's return to what we were talking about. Anshan, no matter how many times you ask, I am hiding nothing. The chairman was the only survivor on Rokenjima that day, and she passed away without saying anything. I myself know nothing. Everything is wrapped in darkness, you see. This old gentleman was one of those leaders who had been entrusted with the business group Ava had built up after she passed away. The one he called chairman was the former chairman, Ushimiya Ava. His company once had friendly ties with Hideyoshi's business, and he'd had a close relationship with both Hideyoshi and Ava. For that reason, when Ava lost Hideyoshi, he became the only person to whom Ava might have let her true intentions slip. Whenever Ava's heart was torn by the loss of her family, whenever she took it out on Ange, he had acted as a buffer between the two. So although Ange didn't trust him, she found him a very easy person to question. That crime was... no, that accident. If I call it a crime, I'll get in trouble. I had the same questions about it as the public and the talk shows. At the time of the accident, why was Aunt Ava in a place 2 kilometers away from the mansion, all alone, and on the night of a storm? Back then, Kinzo-san was unsure as to whom he should select to be his successor. Officially, he decided on his son, Kraus-san, but he didn't have much trust in that man. So, to fairly determine a successor from among the 4 siblings, he made this game-like test called the Riddle of the Epitaph. Ostensibly, yes. Kinzo-san probably planned to make Ava-san the successor from the beginning. He wanted to withdraw his own rule that the eldest son be the successor, and instead of Kraus-san, leave the family to the extremely diligent and brilliant Ava-san. The new rule about giving the inheritance to the one who solved the epitaph was probably nothing more than a farce to snatch the position of successor away from Kraus-san. What do you mean by farce? There was no need for anyone to solve that epitaph. Once it had been displayed for an appropriate amount of time, Kinzo-san could just call Ava, whom he truly wanted to succeed him, and give her the answer. In other words, that itself would provide proof of her succession to the headship. This isn't something they've brought up on the talk shows, is it? Well, once you bring up the succession of the headship, conspiracy theories tend to rise to the surface. I'm no fool myself. I won't go out of my way to say things that could invite misunderstandings, you see. This was his theory. At that time, the Ushimiya family head, Kinzo, whose remaining life was announced to be short, was troubled by the problem of who was to succeed him. Normally, the successor would be fixed as the oldest son, Kraus, whom Kinzo had chosen himself. But in his later years, Kinzo began to think that Ava would make a more fitting family head. However, Kinzo, who was stubborn even against himself, was stymied by the title of successor that he'd already given to Kraus. And he'd searched for an official stance by which he could skip over Kraus and select Ava as his successor. That official stance was the riddle of the epitaph. The primary successor was still Kraus, but there was a new rule saying that if someone appeared who could solve the riddle, they would be chosen as a successor to the headship. Then, on what would probably be his final family conference, Kinzo told Ava the answer to that riddle himself. In short, it was the same as proclaiming that Eva herself was the successor. On that day, Eva-san was summoned by Kinzo-san, who revealed the answer to her, and so she could succeed the headship. He called Eva-san to the hidden mansion Kuwadorian, which only the head knew about. Because Aunt Eva arrived at the hidden mansion one step ahead, she escaped harm in that accident, you say. Maybe Aunt Eva just killed everyone, and made it look like an accident, so she could steal all the wealth for herself, and maybe that's why only she escaped unharmed. Well, that's what the papers are shouting about. However, I believe Eva-san. I'd say there are several points that justify trusting her. For example, that ring of the Ushimiya family head, which is on your finger now, Ange-chan. That ring is the only one of its kind in the world, which Kinzo-san had made specially. And the artisan who made it acknowledges that the object on your finger is, without a doubt, that ring. The Ushimiya family head, or the Ushimiya family head's ring. That ring, with the heft of gold and the one-winged seal on it, had a diamond arranged on a pedestal. It felt both sturdy and reminiscent of the dark hobbies of the rich. Kinzo had worn that on his finger without removing it even for a moment. This man was saying that the fact that Eva had proved that Kinzo had acknowledged her as a successor. After all, Eva-san certainly did have that ring, and if you take into consideration that Eva-san actually was talented, and that Kraus-san had made a fool of himself several times on the business scene, I cannot imagine that Eva-san's story is completely made up. Although there's the possibility that she murdered grandfather in order to steal that ring, then Aunt Eva, using some trick of some kind of trick, massacred everyone and made it look like an accident. Ah, yes. It seems the papers were saying something about her massacring everyone while keeping all the wealth to herself as a goal. True, Eva-san was a person capable of holding back nothing when she was determined to accomplish something. Or she may have committed murder just once in her life, if a chance for keeping all the Ushimiya family wealth for herself presented itself. However, I don't think that happened. So what's the second point that justifies your trust in her? Eva-san's family, Hideyoshi-san and George-kun. It might be difficult for you to believe all of a sudden, Ange-chan, but Eva-san was a person who treasured family greatly. True, part of me didn't want to believe it or acknowledge it, but I did understand vaguely. Aunt Eva certainly had been a person who highly treasured her family. After all, the root of her twisted personality had been nothing more than the sadness of losing her beloved husband and son. After getting hit with her angry outbursts as she tried to distract herself from that pain, I had no feelings of sympathy at all. But it's not like I can't imagine how the incredible shock of losing her whole family must have changed her character. You're saying there's no way Aunt Eva, who loved her family, would throw away her husband and her son? That's right. Even if Eva-san really was the culprit and massacred the entire family, making it look like an accident, she most certainly would have spared her husband and her son. She would quibble that, by coincidence, only her family had been in the hidden mansion. If Hideyoshi-san and George-kun had been safe, even I would probably suspect Eva-san. I truly cannot imagine that Eva-san's wailing at Hideyoshi-san's funeral was an act. Sounds like both points so far are just circumstantial evidence. That isn't the same as physically proving Aunt Eva's innocence. Huh, if you say that, then you're stuck right away. Eva-san was the only survivor, and she says that this is the truth. But no one can prove her innocence. Yes, that's right. And no one can prove that she committed a crime either. And the final point that justifies trusting her is the police. After all, it was such a flashy crime. The police were being pushed forward by the public in uproar over conspiracy theories, so they must have investigated Eva-san thoroughly. It was easy to feel something unnatural about the claim that Eva had avoided the accident by coincidence, because she alone had escaped to a hidden mansion. Furthermore, at the time, Hideyoshi's company had been right in the middle of a takeover struggle. In order to buy off the big stockholders, she wanted a large sum of cash. It shouldn't be too hard to find a motive there. But as a matter of fact, there had been nothing at all that implicated Eva as she went to the family conference. Nothing unnatural was found on her that could have been used to brutally murder her family and make it look like an accident. The servants who escaped harm by being off-duty on that day also stated they hadn't seen anything strange regarding anyone related to the event, Ava included. Putting all that together, it could only be concluded that Ushime Ava had headed to Rokkenjima for a normal family conference without any change, and encountered an accident. The police looked so intensely and they still couldn't find evidence it was a crime. They reached that conclusion themselves. Doesn't this resolve the Rokkenjima suspicion? That just means the police couldn't find evidence that it was a crime, right? There's nothing I can say to counter that. It becomes a devil's proof. To expose it as her crime, you simply need to find evidence. But what could you possibly find to prove her innocence? It's impossible to prove a negative fact. Did Aunt Ava commit a crime, or did she not? Because we can't find any materials that let us say for sure. The truth will remain a mystery. That's what you're saying, right? That's it. Phrase it in a manner you would prefer, that's what it amounts to. It was impossible even for Ava-san to prove her own innocence. On that island, an unfortunate accident occurred, and Ava-san survived by chance. And we don't know any more than that. In short, it all comes down to whether you believe the story of the only survivor, Ava-san, or not. I believed. The ring and her praiseworthy love for her family, and the tears she shed at the funeral. Taking all of that into consideration, I decided to believe her story. But I don't believe. If she wanted to steal the ring, there were probably many ways for her to do it, and no one knows if her relationship with her family really was that good. No one can prove that tears at the funeral are real. Anyway, I hated Aunt Ava from the very beginning, so I don't ever want to believe in her. Huh. How does one view the truth of the crime? You and I are completely opposing sides. Even though the information we are given is exactly the same, we interpret it in completely different ways. This happens often in politics and business. The exact same enterprise will always be assessed in multiple differing ways. Do you know why? Why? It's a question of whether one has love. Whether you feel love for someone or not completely changes how you view them. If a person you like gives to the poor, you respect them for it, right? But if someone you hate starts donating, you fiercely protest it's a publicity stunt or they're handing out favors. No matter what they do or don't do, you thank them if you have love and criticize them if you don't. That's how the world works. Can Aunt Ava be trusted? Or can't she? You're saying that's all that really matters. Those who suspect her will probably take anything she does or doesn't do and truly see it as something unnatural. And it works in reverse. As for me, I think that barring certain extreme cases, truth might not exist in this world at all. Hey look, they're talking about like cancel culture and stuff like that too. This is very relevant to our current state of the world. No, even if truth does exist, whether you believe it or not is determined by whether you have love or not. Can you really call truth without certainty truth? Even if Ava-san had been able to show physical proof that she had an alibi, would you have been able to believe it? It's hard to counter that. I hate Aunt Ava, so I'll probably deny any information beneficial to her, and interpret any neutral information in a negative way. In other words, the truth is already decided inside me. So just what in the world is this truth that I'm still searching for, unsatisfied? That's how it is. So no matter what you hear from me, since you still suspect Ava-san after all this time, nothing will change. At the very least, even if you were to grasp a piece of hitherto unknown information, I don't think you'd be able to reach the truth the way you are now. So I can't reach the truth. After all, no matter what kind of new information or proof you find, Ange-chan, it won't change your stance that Ava-san is a culprit, right? So it's pointless to investigate anymore, because the truth inside of you is already decided. However, if you stop assuming that has to be the truth, if you wish to struggle further towards the deeper real truth, there is a single way. I believe I already mentioned it, but do you know what it is? Is it love? I don't really know what you mean. Right now, you're considering this under the assumption that Eva-san is the culprit. But that's no different than looking at something with a single eye. With one eye, no matter how much you squint, you cannot see an object in 3 dimensions, right? That's why we have another eye. And of course, it's in a different position from the first eye. You're telling me to look at things based on the supposition that Aunt Eva isn't the culprit, or else that it was a real accident. Yes, that's correct. When thinking about anything, you should always try to look at it from different perspectives. If you don't, you won't understand anything about what is real. It's the same with newspapers. You can't see anything from the single viewpoint of a writer who wrote an article in a single newspaper. Sometimes you can only process information composedly, and in 3 dimensions when you read multiple newspapers. Without love, the truth cannot be seen. Huh, sounds nice. Maybe he thought it interesting that such a flashy phrase would pop out of his mouth. For a while he laughed, looking pleased. At the same time, he was telling me that he'd said everything he knew, and that it was about time to leave. I understood that and got to my feet. I do understand your feelings, Ange-chan. You should do as you like for a while until you're satisfied. You were 6 years old at the time. I understand how you must feel after losing your family before you could even understand what that meant, and how you must still be unable to sort out your heart. You may learn the truth, and you may not. Eva-san may be the culprit, and she may be a victim. I pray that you find the truth you believe in, Ange-chan. A journey at such a young age may prove to be a valuable experience. Thank you very much. I'm truly sorry to be such a bother when you're so busy, Okonogi-san. No trouble, no trouble. What are you going to do now? Well, whatever works. I've made appointments with several specialists and people related to the crime, and I plan to go visit them. I see. I hope you find an answer you can accept. At that time, company president Okonogi's secretary came in, handing him a memo over his shoulder. He read it, then looked between it and my face. Ange-chan, my apologies that this comes right after telling you to try going on a journey, but I have some information you should lend an ear to. It looks like you're in a bit of a nasty fix right now. People are after my money. This is why money's stupid. Yes, but if you sell off all the wealth, trying to donate the whole sum to a public welfare, you'll make the eyes pop out of those people optimistic about their chances with your fortune. Oh, the Sumadera family. Those guys act so proud, like they're my guards or something. I haven't forgotten Aunt Eva. There's no way I'll put myself in the care of the Sumadera family. They probably want to, as Aunt Eva often threatened in the past. Cut off my arms and legs and throw me in a warehouse and suck the Ushimiya family's wealth dry. Apparently, a messenger from the Sumadera family is coming here. They're saying to hand you over. No, that they want to protect you. A messenger, you say? It's your aunt. Kirie-san's younger sister. I believe she told me earlier she thinks of you as a little sister. She's gotta be joking. At least call me a granddaughter, you old hag. Judging from the context, it seems they have no wish to listen to your desires. I have a car waiting in the parking lot, 2 stories underground. Go. The Sumadera family is telling you to hand me over. Is it really okay to let me go? You will definitely become something big in the future, Ange-chan. Let us call this a favor to be repaid upon your success. Go, quickly. After bowing silently and deeply, Ange left that place at a dash. After watching her leave, the female secretary straightened her glasses and whispered. The Sumadera family told us to stall her. Is it really alright to let her go? We did stall her, more than enough. If they still don't make it in time, that's their own fault. I told Ange-chan to run for it. I informed the Sumaderas that Ange-chan would be coming. Whether she's caught or not, I will not be blamed. Everything in this world is love, you see. Don't worry, she'll escape. After all, that child's capable of leaping off a building to shake pursuers. Okonogi looked down again through a crack in the blinds, muttering, Nope, definitely couldn't do it. Ange wasn't a fool herself. She got off the elevator, but on the 3rd floor. Taxi in the second level of the basement? That's so neat and clean that I don't like it. It's probably better to refuse for now, but my enemies aren't fools either. They're probably waiting in the first floor lobby, as well as the underground parking lot. It's such a massive building. Instead of getting anxious and escaping outside, maybe it's better to stay inside and wait it out. No, that's useless. If they get their hands on a security room in a modern building like this, I'll have nowhere to run to. The entire building is like a massive dead end. The third floor is the business floor. A young girl like me will clearly stick out. Trying not to stand out any more than I had to, I walked at a brisk pace searching for an emergency exit. It'd be perfect if that staircase was an outside one. I found the door to the emergency exit. After opening the heavy door, I found the outside staircase I'd hoped for. I bumped into a man who looked like an employee skipping work and smoking a cigarette. After glaring at me, he quickly crushed out a cigarette and went away. It looked like there was no one below. If I'm gonna escape, now's my only chance. Just when I thought that, a black car slid right under me and came to a sudden stop with incredible squealing of the tires. Judging by the sound of the tires, it seemed they had several other allies, and that one of them had come here to block this path. Not bad, Aunt Kasumi. To think you'd even send a car to pick up your little sister when she's trying to get out through the emergency exit. Bam, bam, the doors of the car were forcefully opened, and 3 black-suited men jumped out, looking up at the emergency staircase. Crap, our eyes met. 12, target found. Northwest side emergency stairs, 3rd floor, send support. Ange-sama, try not to move from there. Forgive our roughness. 3 of them began to clamber up the emergency exit. They've already announced that they plan to be rough. This is pretty bad. As long as I don't stop breathing, they'll probably be ordered to grab me no matter what, even if they gotta rip out one of my arms. Their heavy, wild footsteps became a helix and began to rise from the lower floors, getting closer. Hey Kieran, thank you so much for the stretch. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for dropping by the stream. I hope you're having a good trip as well. And thank you for the stretch reminder. You two at home, don't forget to sit up straight and stretch in your seat if you've been sitting for a while. In the entrance lobby of the building, a woman with 7 black-suited guards behind her advanced at a leisurely pace. Seeing this ostentatious entrance, the security guards for the building ran up to them, asking if they had an appointment. How typical of Tokyo people. Don't you understand the status of the person you're talking to without her having to say her name? My apologies. At our company, guests are to take a secure... Back down, scum. I came because I was called by your president. Call Okanogi Tetsuro here. To think he would call me here and then not welcome me. How typical of Tokyo people. You just want to stop by and say hi? Oh, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for stopping by. And again, I hope you're having a great time in Japan. It sounds really fun. I saw some of your photos on Twitter. My apologies. Welcome to the Ushimiya Group, Sumadera Kasumi-san. With the secretary behind him, Okanogi dashingly appeared from the elevator. Even though both of them wore bold smiles, they were wrapped in a tension reminiscent of the smell of gunpowder. Where is Ange? I came to greet that adorable daughter of my big sisters. Strict observance of time is our motto here at the Ushimiya Group. The former chairman herself said that those who can't keep time can't keep contracts. You called me all the way to Tokyo, and this is all you have to show for it? You let her go, didn't you? Please, she escaped from us. We did stall her for quite some time, but unsurprisingly she did eventually smell a rat. Of course, this wouldn't have been a problem at all if you had arrived on time, Sumadera-san. Ah, these provincials and their loose concept of time. Oh, this is him. Ah, these provincials and their loose concept of time. What was that? What did you say to me? You couldn't sense any of Kirie's open frankness in Katsubi's face. She wore the arrogance of the ancient Sumadera family towards the ruined Ushimiya family, as well as pride, because she didn't want anyone to notice that her family was declining, so much that they couldn't ignore the Ushimiya family's wealth. Even at a glance, it was easy to understand why Ange hated her aunt so deeply. She couldn't stand even a slight insult, and though she still smiled, her eyebrow twitched. At that time, the black-suited man behind Kasumi whispered to her. Ange-sama has been found. We are currently dealing with her. Oh, I'm glad we made it in time. Thank you, Okanogi. It seems I can finally take my mischievous niece home. I've waited so long to talk with that girl in my tea room, with all the tools prepared. Hey Aramon, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for dropping by. Clank, 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 clank. As the violent sound drew a helix, it rushed up at me from below, threatening to swallow me up. Of course, even if I fight, there's no way I'll be able to win. And yet, running into the building would be like jumping into a dead end of my own accord. My enemies will increase in number with time. If I don't do something here now, I won't have any more chances to escape. Then 3 muscular black-suited men came into view below me. 1, 2, 3. 3 people. In other words, everyone who had gotten out of the car. If there had been just one of them, I might have been able to drop kick them or something and smash them in the head, which might work out. But it really would be impossible with 3 of them. Wait, 3? If there's just 3, I should be able to make it. I could do it. Take a deep breath. Ha! What? You idiot, stop! Look out! Ah! Oh, 01 calling 12. Is the package secure? We received a response. What happened? Respond. She's crazy. Damn it. Ugh. Ow. See, that worked out perfectly, didn't it? There were just the 3 of them after all. I've already tried that once from a higher place. I knew I'd be able to jump down just 3 floors. It's a good thing the car they came in was right beneath me. Even if it wasn't as pleasant as a trampoline, it broke my fall a little gently, a little roughly. How rude. You didn't have to dent it that much. The roof of the car broke my fall, leaving a massive dent around my body. Car roofs are surprisingly delicate. I don't think it's because of my weight. Apparently the 3 people on the stairs hadn't planned on me jumping down. It seemed they now realized they'd been outwitted, and they're rushing down the stairs. I gotta run and escape while I have the chance. I moved my body, making clunking sounds on the car roof. But I've been naive. Of course they wouldn't all rush up the stairs without leaving one person behind. There was one black-suited man left in the driver's seat of the car that had broken my fall. He stuck his head out the window, and when he realized what had fallen on him, he jumped out. In a rush, I jumped off the roof, but the black-suited man's reaction was really fast. Either there was a massive reward for capturing me, or there'd be some harsh punishment in store for them if they let me get away. 15, secured, secured. Ow! Don't touch me like that, let go! I was mercilessly held down against the asphalt. I was being crushed face down, covered and pressed upon from above. It was a hold without a trace of elegance, but it was extremely practical and left me no room for resistance. I tried to push back with both hands, searching for a way to resist, but I was being pushed down solidly and I couldn't even tear myself off the asphalt. Then another car came, squealing its tires as it slid to a sudden stop. Is it all over now? Ugh. The man that had been crushing me let out a sharp cry. He was yelling straight into my ear, making my left ear ring. What in the world? Along with the black suit guy, I fell with a thunk. After landing face up, the first thing I saw was an arm stuck out right in front of my eyes. Amakusa? What are you doing here? Let's talk about that after we lost them. To the car, quickly, lady. Amakusa grabbed my arm, easily pulled me up, spinning me around with himself as the center of gravity. Just when I thought it was like a little dance, he flung me through the open door into the driver's seat. I climbed over the handbrake and slid into the passenger seat. Pushing me in, Amakusa also got into the driver's seat. Since we suddenly accelerated while still on all fours, I had to kick and struggle around on the chair for a while like a turtle that had been flipped over. Amakusa checked the rear view mirror for cars in pursuit, but he flew into the artery of the big city without lowering his speed in the slightest. We sewed our way between cars, one after another, just like a chase scene in some action movie. I was shaken by this horrible driving and I had trouble sitting back down. Are you hurt, lady? I'm fine. Humans are surprisingly durable. Next time I try to escape a downward moving elevator, I'll jump out a window instead. Huh, I guess air dives are a hobby of yours, lady. Still, I'd recommend you grab a parachute next time. Sure, if I remember to do it after leaping. Haha, cool. He smacked the steering wheel, defying. Need an explanation for this flippantly talking man. His name is Amakusa Juza. He was originally one of Aunt Ava's guards. Didn't she start to hate him because he chatted too much? He was much younger than the rest of the guards, but contrary to his outward flippancy, he'd hopped from the 1st Airborne of the JSDF to the French Foreign Legion, placing himself in overseas private military companies and high-class security companies, one after another, making for a pretty incredible and unique career. But I heard he deserted both the JSDF and the French Foreign Legion, and that he'll be arrested if he enters France again. Both of these flippant episodes are very typical of him. The guards were sternly told not to chat with me unnecessarily, but he came and took a pass at me, didn't he? Aunt Ava was apparently particularly put off by that, and had supposedly dismissed him shortly before she died. It's been a while since I heard that carefree tone. What happened after you got fired? I was coaching some people at Blackwater. When I came back to the country during my time off, President Okanogi offered me a high wage. So you deserted again. I wonder how a man like that can be useful for anything. Doesn't count as dissertation as long as I come back by next week. I talked with him yesterday. I was told that some troublesome people might come to call on you, lady. Sorry, that turned out to be exactly right. My name probably came up since I know you, and I've got lots of crazy experience. Thanks to you, it looks like I'm in for a happy vacation, plus some pocket money. So, Okanogi-san employed you as my guard. Hey, he probably wants to buy some gratitude from you, lady. After I got fired, I was indebted to President Okanogi in various ways. He's got some dirt on me here and there, and now I can't say no to him. Huh. Seems like getting indebted to Okanogi-san can be pretty costly later on. So, where are you planning on taking me? Anywhere. I'm employed until the weekend. Anything after that will cost you extra. How much per day? I'll take 50,000, plus expenses. If you stop cracking jokes, I'll double it. The period of employment isn't fixed yet. It might take several weeks. That'll be tough. I'll have to call my boss to get an extension on my vacation. More than anything, I want to investigate that day. Oh, is this about Rokenjima? Exactly. What happened on that island 12 years ago? I want to investigate it with my own hands to my satisfaction. Do you really expect to find anything new investigating something that old? True. But this is a journey for my own self-satisfaction. Once that's over, I'll just throw my hands up and go over to the Sumidera family. Didn't Aunt Kasumi say something about how she wanted to serve me some matcha? Maybe she'll serve me tea as I kneel on sharp wooden blocks clutching stones or something. Damn, that sounds freaky. My apologies, we lost sight of them. A single man thought to be an associate assisted in her escape. Judging by his possession of a stun gun and his driving skills, he's no amateur. I see, thank you. What a shame, Okanogi. Shall I take this as your answer? Letting her get away was your blunder. It has nothing to do with me. I do wish to prepare some matcha for you as well, in the near future. The next time you're in Kyoto, please stop by. I'm going. Oh, are you leaving already? I could offer you some chazuke first. With her back still facing Okanogi, she laughed softly, with an increasingly shrill and hateful tone, using that as a substitute for a sharp, parting remark. Just as she stopped laughing, her features suddenly changed to look like a demon's. But before her back was facing him, Okanogi couldn't see that expression. Okanogi watched her go, laughing coolly. His secretary whispered over his shoulder. Are you sure about this? Milady Ange is our company's primary stockholder. If the Sumidera family becomes her guardian. I get it. But you know, we're the world-famous Ushiyomiyas. You can't let them take us lightly. Still, it looks like that guy managed it pretty well. All that's left is let Anshan do as she pleases. I'm counting on you, Amakusa. Kasumi-sama. The escaping car was a rental. The license plate they displayed was a fake. We're clearly dealing with a pro. They'll probably abandon the car. Pursuit will be difficult. Should we have the police chase them? Yes. Shall we have them search for our runaway daughter? They are getting paid with our taxes, so the police must be of some use every once in a while. When I left the mansion, I boldly told Mother to leave it to me, didn't I? You intend to embarrass me further? It looks like it might be better for me to serve some matcha for everyone at once, doesn't it? Our underground tea room is cramped, so you have to wait in line. No. We will search with everything we have. Ah, she really is a cute kid, just like Ne-san. Especially that way she freewheels and does as she pleases. Now I can't see anything but Nea-san. I'm truly looking forward to it. If only I could invite Nea-san's daughter to my tea room, right? Oh. Sumadera family sure moved quickly. Did Okanogi-san sell me out? You're joking. He's my client. If he'd sold you out, he wouldn't have hired me, right? I guess that's true. So that's why you got off the elevator at the 3rd floor. And having a car waiting in the underground parking lot was just too convenient. I figured Okanogi-san sold me out. Though I guess by now it's impossible to prove whether there was an ambush set up in the parking lot or not. I see. That poor president guy. Looks like you don't trust him a bit, lady. That car in the basement was mine. Huh? He was talking about you, Amakusa. I freaked when the elevator came and was empty. I wonder what would have happened by now if I hadn't been listening in on their radio. So what's going on? If I had obediently believed Okanogi-san and gone to the parking lot, there would have been no need for me to do that jump off the 3rd floor. Pretty much, yeah. Well, it turned out okay in the end. What the hell? If I hadn't suspected President Okanogi, I could have easily escaped without getting caught in a tough spot. President Okanogi might have sold me out. No, since paranoia told me it was better to assume that he'd sold me out, I suppose and concluded that he sold me out. Because of my inability to believe in him regardless of the truth, my truth became he sold me out. I thought back on President Okanogi's words. Can you really call it truth without certainty truth? Truth can change completely depending on whether you have love or not. In the end, perhaps truth itself doesn't exist. There are as many interpreted truths as there are people who speak of the truth. If I can't accept something that fluid as truth, where does the truth that I really want to find exist? And it's something I'll be able to see with my eyes. Even if someone sticks the truth right in front of me and says it's the truth, I might not be able to see it. Without love, it cannot be seen, huh? This fragment of yours is very lively. It doesn't bore me. You told me something. You commanded me to search for the truth of 12 years ago, but there's something I'm not getting. What's that? What is truth? There are as many truths as there are people. There are as many interpretations as there are people. And those can be twisted by opinions and changed indefinitely. Is truth really that unfixed and vague? That's right. Truth is unfixed. It can be like a particle, or like a wave, and it can hold conflicting forms at the same time. You are free to believe that the cat in the box is alive or dead, but the truth is very delicate. It can change its appearance just by being observed. You're talking about stuff like Schrodinger's cat box. Nonsense. If you open the box, you learn the truth. Discussion about what happens before you open it is just an armchair theory. That's right. And yet, in order to deny that abstract theory, you need to open the box. It is impossible to negate any idea about the contents of a box that cannot be opened. This is what truth is. As long as truth isn't denied, it keeps its form. That's right. As long as truth isn't observed, it keeps its form. In other words, if it isn't exposed, any reckless statements can suffice as truth. Hey Yasu, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for stopping by. Yeah, it's been good. I hope you're doing well too. Yes, even if they contradict each other, endless ideas can exist as truth at the same time without being negated. So even something as screwed up as my family being captured by the Rokunjima witch and shut up 12 years ago for all eternity can exist as truth as long as we don't know what happened 12 years ago. This witch called Beatrice forcefully made room for endless imaginings in the Rokunjima of 12 years ago, enveloping all of it inside a cat box. Everything inside the unopenable box is truth. That's right. We don't know what happened on that island, so it becomes endless. That's assuming no one opens it up. I just have to wrench it open. But that box was closed up 12 years ago, and I don't even know where it is. Even if I visit Rokkenjima, just what can I learn about what happened 12 years ago on that desolated island? Who knows? I wonder what you could learn. This is something that can only be done by the person who was able to walk around freely in the world of 1998, 12 years in the future. The final witch, Ange Beatrice. You're chilling and having leftover Valentine's Day cake? Oh, nice. I had some leftover cake today too. It was very good. I love sweets. Beatrice's game board lasts 2 days, from October 4th, 1986 to the 5th. In other words, you're a piece who can move freely outside her game board. And even Beatrice cannot influence this future that lies outside the game board. If you say it like that, it sounds like I'm a pretty overpowered piece. The future of 12 years later in which you are placed certainly is distant. However, the further a piece is placed in the future, the stronger power it holds. I told you, didn't I? The truth changes its appearance when it is observed. Come to think of it, I heard something like that once. Even if one day, all of a sudden, a star in the constellation Centaurus were to explode, the light from that explosion would have to cross 4.4 light years, so it would take 4.5 years to reach the Earth. That's right. In other words, even if the sun in Centaurus has already died, people on Earth won't be able to perceive that fact for 4.5 years, because no method of perception exists that is faster than the speed of light. When we learn that the sun in Centaurus has exploded, we Earth people will paint over our history of 4.5 years ago with a new truth. We will revise history with a new fact, that it exploded 4.5 years ago. However, for the 4.5 year period until we learn that, despite the fact it has already died, the mistaken truth that the sun of Centaurus still exists will be able to exist as truth. The truth of the future wins against the truth of the past. That's right. By itself, the Rokkenjima accident gave rise to nothing but suspicion of a conspiracy involving Aunt Ava and the Ushimiya family assets. Later on, it was dramatized, linked to the occult, and the conspiracy was painted over by the legend of the witch. Even though it was clamored over as a conspiracy at the time of the crime, later on strange occult theories, which claimed that it was the work of the witch, ran rampant and began to paint over the truth of October 5th, 1986. The conspiracy theories will probably be forgotten over time, and only the more bizarre, impressive witch theory will continue to remain as superstition, eventually covering up the conspiracies. That's right. The false truth that exists before the light from an exploding star reaches Earth is almost like the conspiracy theory, which is human theory. The wine bottle with a letter in it that drifted ashore several years later. The message bottle painted over that theory and made things return to the occult theory, which is the witch's theory. That's right. A witch didn't exist during 1986. The witch took control of Rokkenjima because she was observed several years later by us humans of the future, thanks to the message bottle. A small revision is necessary. The witch could have existed even during 1986, as one of the many endless possibilities that can exist. Certainly, she'd disappear if she was observed, so she curls up inside the cat box. That's what makes the message bottle so nasty. The witch tried to get out of the box. She made it so that she'd be observed, weeding out possibilities that conflicted with the witch theory. In other words, to make it impossible to negate her, she negated all possibilities other than the witch theory. What the hell? So in other words, Beatrice satisfied the devil's proof with a frontal attack. And that was part of the witch's plan from the beginning. The message bottle is information observed in the future after 1986. It cannot be observed by Beatrice or Battler. It can only be observed by Ange Beatrice. I really didn't want to investigate the message bottle. After all, reading that would be like listening to the witches say. I thought the witch theory was just crazy fantasy, so I thought of it as nothing more than a waste of time. But Okanogi-san told me, you can't see things in 3 dimensions with only one eye. You mean that while looking at it from the viewpoint of denying witches, you must also look at it from the viewpoint of accepting witches. That's a correct way of thinking. The number of viewpoints is like a denominator. If you have one viewpoint, the mystery in the numerator doesn't decrease in the slightest. However, the more your number of viewpoints increases, the more the mystery begins to be divided. I understand. There was a message ball that washed up on a neighboring island several years after the crime. That passed into the hands of a dilettante. I made an appointment with him just in case. I was able to hear Aunt Ava say from Okanogi-san, "Next up is the witch's say." Why don't I listen to Beatrice's say? So this is fascinating because it's almost like framing the meta world of Ange's world as her from the future looking back on the past. Is she really embroiled in a battle with Beatrice and Badler? Or is it all like a metaphor for something? Also, I want to interestingly point out, Okanogi and Amakusa are kind of like recurring characters in the When They Cry series. There's other characters that look just like them and even share similar names to them. But it's kind of like what the author said. Sometimes he designs characters that look identical within his series because he imagines the characters like actors. Kind of like how like Harrison Ford can be Indiana Jones and like Han Solo at the same time. It's like he has character likenesses because they're played by the same actors, which is why he makes them look identical instead of redesigning them from scratch all the time. So it kind of links a lot of the When They Cry series together, loosely. 3 months left to live. It was last year when you said that, right, Dr. Nanjo? I only spoke of what I could comprehensively determine from his physical condition at the time. As a result, this year too, it just so happens. So even though it's doubtful whether Dad will last until the end of the year, he's still totally focused on his occult research. And you still say he only has 3 months left, Doctor. Like I said, Kinzo-san's... Shouldn't you be happy our respected father is still in high spirits? Out of a sense of parental respect, each one of you is so eager to greet Father. I can see how upset you are that he's unwilling to meet with you. Considering that everyone has started aiming for the inheritance while the sun is still in the sky, I can understand why Father wouldn't want to see you. You've got it wrong, Natsuine-san. We just, Dad isn't immortal, and he'll die someday. We aren't telling him to die, we're just saying that he will die sooner or later. We're just talking together about how to prepare for that. And that is precisely what is so disrespectful. Stop it. It'll make your headache worse. Kraus told Natsui, who had risen from her chair in agitation, to sit down. Trying to smooth over the atmosphere, which had suddenly become filled with suspicion, Hideyoshi put on a forced smile and motioned for everyone to calm down. Natsui-san, don't misunderstand. People say you should always clean up after yourself, right? We're just talking about seeing him off. We're discussing this so we can see Father off neatly when he takes off on the journey he's eventually gonna make. Huh, that's just like you, Hideyoshi-san. Even though you're saying the same thing, you make it sound so intellectual. Yes, that's right. Unlike you, Nissan. Quit it. We aren't getting anywhere. So, like we're saying, Aniki, forget all this about the inheritance. I don't even care if Dad hits us. To make a long story short, we want to meet Dad directly and say hello. Even if he says he doesn't want to. If he's locked up in his study, we don't care if we have to borrow a key from Genji-san. Right, Rosa? Oh, well, it's not like we're forcing you. It's just we haven't said hello to Father in such a long time. If his remaining life really is short, there's a chance we might never be able to see him again. Today might be our final opportunity to exchange words with Father. That's right, just like Rosa says. If only he has 3 months left, it wouldn't be odd for him to pass away any time now, right? Are you saying that despite that, we don't even have the right to talk with him one last time? Regardless of the circumstances, isn't that just a bit too much? If greeting Father was truly what you wish to do, I'm sure he'd be happily allow you to meet with him. But Father has already heard about the disrespectful topic you hope to raise. No one would want to meet with you under those conditions. The reason you cannot meet with Father is because of your own doing, and nothing else, is it not? Huh. Exactly. You shouldn't have to rack your brains to understand why Father doesn't wish to see your faces, right? Father has seen through all your tight financial situations. What are you talking about? I don't have a clue what you're going on about, Nissan. Huh. Did you really think I didn't know about the state you're in? Ava and the rest realized that he had seen through their current lack of funds, and alternating between bluffing and returning to the point at hand and arguing back, they repeatedly pressed Kraus to let them meet with Kinzo. The sweet smell of the black tea Rosa had gone out of her way to buy had been completely wasted. The only thing she was glad about now was that the children weren't here for this. The fact that they're gone to play at the beach right after lunch had been their only salvation. Ava made as though to tackle Kraus, and Hideyoshi and Kirie cut in between them, trying to calm both sides. Then Kirie took a deep breath and spoke. I'm sorry, Kraus-ni-san. I know I'm an outsider, but I wonder if you'd let me say one thing. I have a proposition. What is it, Kirie-san? First, and this includes my husband as well, for many years we have belittled the efforts you've made by living with father and taking care of him. Isn't that right? That's, well, we've got it easy since we get to go outside, but Aniki's been babysitting Dad for decades now, and that must have been a lot of work. I'll accept that, but what's your point, Kirie? We must acknowledge that Kraus-ni-san is Father's caretaker. Isn't that right? We've always feared Father and have pushed the task of caring for him onto Kraus-ni-san. Everyone should acknowledge his efforts. Isn't that right, Ava, Nisan? And so what? Nisan's father's caretaker? Don't decide things on your own, outsider. Hey now, calm down. Kirie-san, what are you talking about? Kirie, please continue. We should be more grateful towards Kraus-ni-san and Natsui-ne-san. We should thank them for always taking care of Father. It's our lack of gratitude that's to blame for these wasteful conflicts we keep having. Isn't that right, Kraus-ni-san? I'm surprised. I did not think you, Kirie-san, would be able to understand our efforts, which even my true siblings have stopped to consider. It's a natural duty for the successor to the Ushimiya family headship. That's right. It's your responsibility as the successor to the headship, isn't it? It's because you take care of Father that we must acknowledge you as the successor. Hey! Why are you bringing this all up by yourself? You're just an outsider. Wait, Aniki. That's right. It's just like Kirie says. Because you take care of Dad, you're the successor, Aniki. It's just like you said. Oh. Ugh. Rosa noticed, and then Ava did. Ava's barking demeanor towards Kirie for advancing the discussion on her own disappeared in a flash, and she instead stared at Kraus and Natsui. Natsui couldn't understand the sudden change and was slightly flustered. Kraus-ni-san, if you'll accept just a few conditions, we won't ask you to let us meet Father again until he dies. Of course, we won't demand to be present at his deathbed. We wouldn't even mind being absent at the funeral. Oh? Where are you going with this? But I may as well listen for now. Let's hear your terms. First, the term successor to the headship refers to the caretaker of the current head, Ushimiya Kinzo. And then? Second, the duty of the caretaker is to look after Ushimiya Kinzo for the rest of his life. To make things simple, the caretaker's job is to care for him until his final moments. You were prepared to do that from the beginning, Kraus-ni-san, so that won't cause any problems. Naturally, I have no objections to either of those terms. I am already carrying them out. Third, on the off chance that the caretaker is neglectful in his responsibilities of supervision, he shall be deprived of his rights as a caretaker. With that sentence, all slack disappeared from Kraus's face. Natsui alone was still having trouble figuring out what it meant. Huh. And just what are these responsibilities of supervision that the caretaker bears? It means supervision so that Father can live the rest of his life in the best possible health. I'll be more detailed than that. In the case that Father dies, anything other than a natural death, the caretaker will be deprived of his rights as caretaker, and his status as the successor to the headship will be lost. If that happens, the next highest in rank, Ava Nesan, will be selected as the successor. What did you say? How could you shamelessly speak such nonsense? Oh, my, the caretaker certainly has a heavy responsibility. However, people can die in many ways. For example, senile old people sometimes die when food gets caught in their throats. Normally, this is called death by old age in its broadest sense. With your argument, that becomes a death by accident, and I bear the responsibility of supervision. This is unjustly disadvantageous to me. I have no intention of forcing such an unfair argument on you. I'm referring to the kind of thing that the caretaker could have prevented beforehand by taking good care of and keeping his eyes on Father. It may be the caretaker's job to carry food to Father's mouth, but whether he swallows it or not is clearly outside the caretaker's responsibility. I would have absolutely no problems with the example you raised, Kraus-Nisan. Oh, so what kind of case are you referring to that might cause the caretaker to be blamed for making a blunder? For example, if he disappeared. Oh. It seems that right now Father is in firm control of himself, but dementia might begin to set in. He might wander around when you aren't looking and get into some kind of accident, or he might get lost in the forest and go missing. Wouldn't this type of case clearly be the responsibility of the caretaker? Father's mind is perfectly healthy. There's no need to bring up dementia. One day, suddenly, I saw Father go into the forest. I chased after him, but I couldn't find him. I called the police and searched, but after being unable to find him, after 7 whole years, I had him declared legally dead. My point is that we won't accept it if you use a story like that to treat him as dead. When Father passes away, an autopsy will certainly be carried out, and we will confirm that he died of old age in the most general meaning, within the bounds of common sense. A death of any other cause will be held as the caretaker's responsibility. See? These are all things you have toiled away at all this time, Kraus-Nisan. These aren't strange conditions or anything of the sort, right? You are mocking us, disgracefully so. I find it hard to imagine why my husband must be coerced into a rule that disgraces him in this way. Actually, I've been suspecting it since last year. No, everyone here probably suspects it as well. Eva-ne-san and Hideyoshi-ni-san, Rudolph-san and Rosa-san too. Everyone has suspected it the whole time, but it was too frightening to imagine that it was so frightening to imagine that no one actually said it. Huh. I see, so this is what you're trying to say. That Father is already dead and I've been hiding it. Ah, that's right. That's one of the theories I thought of as a key to solve the last mystery in the previous game. You mean the very last bit, the mystery of who killed Dr. Nanjo? That's right. The witch definitely said a lot in red. She mentioned the names of all 18 people, announced whether they were alive or dead, and then she claimed that there was no human besides them. But with this theory, I can weave my way through that gap. I see. So this is one of the answers that doesn't cause those two to contradict. Makes sense. See what I'm saying? You catch on pretty quick. It's nice I don't have to explain. No 19th person exists on this island, and yet this trick lets us mix in an unknown new character. In other words, the names of all 18 people don't necessarily correspond to the 18 people on the island. That's it. The witch mentioned the names of 18 people one after another and announced whether they were alive or dead. And on top of that, she's announced that there were no humans other than the 18. There was a single illusion in there. It wasn't guaranteed that the 18 names of people equals the 18 people on the island. When she named off all 18 people and announced who was alive and who was dead, she hid the name of culprit X and instead mixed in someone who wasn't on the island. By doing that, even though the culprit was on the island, she was able to leave him out of the list of living or dead people. The person who was mixed in wasn't actually on the island, so he didn't count towards the total number of people on the island. By this, even though the culprit counted towards a total of 18 people on the island, it was possible for his name not to be listed. The two statements in red are completely independent, so this theory creates no contradictions. If someone's name was used to hide the existence of the culprit, that name must satisfy several conditions. First of all, even though this person isn't on the island, they've got to be someone we think is on the island. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to trick us. And it's best if this person happens to be dead. No alibi is more perfect than death. After all, at that point the mystery was based on the fact the crime was impossible for all 18 people. Is that something like that? Yeah, that's it. And that person was... Grandfather. Right now, there's only one thing Kirie-san can be about to say. We thought Grandfather was locked up in a study, saying that he didn't want to meet anyone. But there's a possibility he's actually dead already, and that Uncle Kraus is lying when he claims Grandfather's alive. That's right. Grandfather was close up in his room the whole time, and no one saw his face. Maybe he was already dead, and Uncle Kraus and the others were conspiring together, trying to trick everyone. If Kinzo dies, the distribution of the inheritance occurs. However, if Kinzo doesn't die, no, if he dies but it isn't announced, the distribution of the inheritance won't take place. In other words, Uncle Kraus could have all of Grandfather's wealth to himself. That's right, he's got more than enough motive. Maybe a 19th Person X really doesn't exist on this island, but a Person X existed, and that person was the 18th person. In other words, there were originally 17 people on this island, not 18. Then an unknown Person X snuck in and committed the crime. How's that, Beto? Come out, I've just solved the final biggest mystery from last time. As Battler claimed that forcefully, the crisp sound of clapping came out of nowhere, and the surroundings turned bright. The usual witch's tea room. Bravo, bravo. I wish I could deny that someone as incompetent as you has finally gotten a feel for it, but somehow or another you've managed to come up with a single answer. Even a lump of concrete can stop thinking. So, you have now finally evolved into a being with intelligence. You might say you've finally taken a step forward from the crying creature you were before, just licking my shoes and grinding your teeth. Can't believe that stupid wordplay threw me for so many loops last time. My lameness pisses me off even more. Hey, Aru, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hello. Alright, Beto, repeat this. If you can announce that the 18 people on the island, including Grandfather, just try and do it. Yeah, you can't. Because he was already dead. This is the end of your deception. Well, now, what have we here? Shall I slice that in two with the red truth? No. No, it might be good to hold back for now and let you get all excited. If I'm going to push you off a cliff anyway, it may be more interesting to lure you to a higher place first. As Beto sneered obnoxiously, she looked like she was searching for an expression that would tick me off even more. As though she was saying that the answer I'd reached was impossibly ridiculous. Compared to me, as annoyed I was with the witch's attitude, Gretel had a blank and composed expression on her face. Almost as though she'd expected the witch to act that way. I see. Just like how Battler has learned and grown, so has the witch. What's wrong, Beto? Don't act so tough. I asked if you can repeat it. Answer. Stop it, Battler. The witch won't answer so easily. She won't do it until she thinks it'll benefit her. What? What do you mean? You've been toyed with by this red truth in the games up until now, so the witch has used it many times. But now the situation is different. You're trying to draw the red truth out of her, and instead using it as your weapon. In this situation, there's no way the witch will keep firing off the red without reason. Right? Gretel, or whoever you are, it seems your mind is quite sharp, unlike Battler's. What a fearsome enemy I've welcomed in. That is correct. When Battler hopes I'll use the red truth, do I have any responsibility to do so? No! I don't even have a crumb for that croissant you ate this morning's worth of responsibility to please you. You bastard. Yes, that's the face. I started playing with the red truth just because I want to see that face. I've no reason to play around if it won't give me a chance to see you look like that. Huh. You just don't like losing, right? Just saying whatever you can to trick me because you can't answer my demand won't work. Don't be so full of yourself. An answer like that could be cut to pieces without any effort. But I won't go out of my way to speak in red. I won't say it because that's what you're asking me to do. Do you know why? You just said it. You want to push him off at the sweetest spot. This ill-natured witch is saying she won't use the red anymore because that's what you want. In other words, she won't go along with this game of telling her to repeat things anymore. Exactly. Unlike Battler, everything goes quickly with this girl with no need for explanations. I will say what I please with the red truth at the time that I desire. That's it. Basically, it's the witch's right to use the red as she pleases. She doesn't have to use it at whatever time the human side desires. But even that depends on the situation. the situation. What do you mean? The witch has no responsibility to respond when you tell her to repeat something, but it does become her responsibility if and only if your claim can destroy the witch's theory. After all, in this trial court without a judge, that which is not refuted becomes the truth. Just like how the witch theory made by the witch will instantly become truth if you collapse and stop thinking. Then, since she doesn't have a counter-argument for my guess, that means it's right? It's right that the culprit is the mysterious 18th person X, and grandfather is already dead. At least until the witch argues back. Truth always loses to a new truth further in the future. The tricky part is that even the timing of the counter-argument is up to the witch. In other words, maybe your reasoning just now was correct. Or maybe the witch is refraining from arguing back even though you're wrong. Or the witch may be ignoring it because it doesn't shake the basis of the witch theory in the first place. But either way, we can't tell the difference at the current time. Is that more or less it? Damn you, Lady Burn-Castell, for throwing in such a troublesome piece. Thanks to that, I'm losing all my lines. The witch has learned that she can respond to your demands to repeat phrases at a later time. Maybe you could even call it a delayed move. She's messing with me. So even if I announce some mistaken reasoning, there's a possibility the Beto would intentionally let me flounder about without denying that guess. Aru, thanks for calling Kirby. And at the very end, when I propose an even more massive line of reasoning, she can cut it off at the base and spin everything around. A single piece of reasoning becomes a bridge to the next piece. By demanding she repeats lines, I've been able to strengthen my position and advance bit by bit. But since that bastard Beto learned this strange delay tactic, I can no longer confirm or deny my reasoning. This is like finally finding a staff that'll let me search around in the darkness only to lose it right away. I'm just stuck now, right? Hey, Battler, if you make a despairing face like that, I won't be able to stop drooling, you see. From the beginning, that staff was nothing more than something I gave you because you were so worthless. All this means is you can finally challenge me without a handicap, right? That alone doesn't change the fact that demanding you repeat things is one of Battler's ways to fight back. As I already said, as long as it's something fatal that'll destroy the witch theory, the witch is obligated to argue back and therefore to speak with the red truth. While the timing of that counter-argument is up to the witch, it may be performed eventually. Or it must be performed eventually, isn't that right? That may be so. If I cannot deny the tricks done by humans theory Battler lays out by the time the game ends, Battler will use that as a reason to deny me, and it will be possible for him to proclaim his victory. So, should we view this as a restriction on the witch's side? The trick theory laid out by the human side, in other words, when he tells you to repeat, must be countered during the game, during the episode. That is so. Battler's goal is to show he can explain the entire pleasant game I've laid out on this island with humans and deny me. But if Battler succeeds in that, at that time he will become the victor of this game. Let me confirm the rules. Should we view the time the game ends as referring to 24 o'clock on October 5th, 1986, going by the time of the Rokenjima in the game? I have no problems with that. At that time the game ends, the human side must state a theory using tricks for all the mysteries, and if the witch side cannot argue back, the human side can proclaim its victory. Does that work? Let us be more specific. When the game ends, the witch side will be given a chance to argue back. Let's decide on an amount of time. 1 minute. If you cannot carry out your counter-argument within 1 minute, victory will be proclaimed. Then allow me to impose the same rule on you. At the time the game ends, the human side will be granted 1 minute to counter the mysteries it has been given. If even a single mystery has not been countered within that time, it becomes the witch's victory and the game is over. It would be such a killjoy to have the game stop for lengthy consideration, right? You asshole. Moving things along without me. But I more or less get what's going on. Even if the lines I demand that you repeat aren't countered instantly, they've got to be countered eventually. Yes, that's right. And that must happen before 001 on October 6th. But be careful. She only has to cut up one of the things you tell her to repeat. You can't proclaim your victory unless you solve all the puzzles. Just as I can use the red, from now on I will allow you to use the blue, Battler. When explaining my magical murders with human tricks, you may state your claims in blue. I am responsible for countering your blue with a red by the end of the game. Blue. So I'll talk in blue when I tell you to repeat things. Not quite. When you told me to repeat lines, you were able to do it for any trivial thing. But the blue is a little more restrictive. Unless it by itself denies witches, it will not be valid. It's starting to get confusing, but it's more or less something like this. For example, let's take one of the riddles in the past where I asked her to repeat something. The actual number of master keys is 5. That had been to confirm there were really 5 master keys, but she claimed there were no more than 5. But since that by itself wouldn't deny witches, I can't say it in blue. So in order to speak in blue, I'll need to say something like this. The actual number of master keys was greater than 5. The culprit entered or exited the room with that extra key. Only then would the witch, who claimed that this was a closed room, murder made with magic, be responsible for making a counter-argument. Thank you for the sleeveless redeems, like Reaper, and thank you for the stretch as well. Don't forget, you at home, sit up straight in your seat and have a little nice stretch. Thank you. In other words, I can't demand that she repeat something that merely confirms the premises of my reasoning. That'll probably be a significant disadvantage for me. Crap. It's enough to make the red beetle used to toy with me until now look extremely merciful. Damn it. So even if I create a theory for a particular closed room and speak it in blue, if Beetle denies it at the very end, I won't even have time to create my next theory. This rule is awful, horribly bad for me. Are you gonna surrender before the fight begins again? Calm down. No one said you could only use the blue once for each mystery. Do you know what that means? No. What does it mean? In the pitiful way you've been fighting up until now, you've made a single theory, glanced at the witch's complexion, and if that one didn't work, you didn't start making another theory. You won't corner a witch like that. Then how should I fight? You don't mean... Yeah, that's right. You don't attack her riddles with a point. You assault them with a wall. You said so yourself in an earlier game that the force of your reasoning should be like that. Assault with a wall. That's right, I said so myself earlier. Guessing and trying to expose the mystery is like trying to shoot a distant target with an arrow. Until now, I've just been shooting off arrow after arrow, asking the witch if I scored a hit, and then preparing my bow again once I'm told that I missed. There's no way I'll hit at that rate. Bullets might be a better example than arrows. If you take one shot after another at a distant target with a handgun, you probably won't hit it easily. So how can you hit it? If a handgun doesn't work, use a shotgun. Instead of a single bullet, beat her down with a shot comprised of countless projectiles at once. Shot scatters, so it impacts a wide area. That makes it optimal for shooting small, fast targets like birds. That's right, there's no rule that says I have to guess like a pistol, shooting one shot off at a time. Making a single theory and just hoping it hits is no better than stopping your own thinking. Blast away with a massive number of bullets, of guesses, and make them impact like a wall, so that only one of them hitting the target is enough. Blue, huh? I get it. If your red truth is a razor-sharp katana, then it looks like my blue is a shotgun. No, a machine gun, whose firepower will turn the witch into a honeycomb. I see, so it's an awkward gun that fires many shots. That sort of crude analogy is just like you. The climax of a detective novel is always the same. The famous detective gathers all the suspects at once and displays a single trail of logic that works splendidly. Almost like William Tell spectacularly shooting through an apple with a single arrow. That's why I mistakenly took that to be a virtue. It probably would be splendid if I could shoot through the truth with a single guess. But that isn't realistic. Look at real wars. Do they really have everyone pull long guns out of the trench, aim really well and take shots at each other one at a time? They don't, right? They fire rapidly, they fire all over the place, they pin down the enemy with a barrage. Reasoning is the same way. Because of that weird virtue, I've been stuck thinking it's better to take one line of reasoning at a time. We humans can fire off countless guesses and possibilities. The bullet is the power of imagination. Suspension of thought is a clogged barrel. The pathetic way I've been reasoning up till now is like a pea shooter. I've been so lame, weakly firing off shots, getting them denied and read, and then taking the next bullet and reloading. My blue truth, which claims that humans and tricks are what's real, will overpower its target, the illusion told by the witch with its firepower and the force of what I can imagine. This is my Ushimi Battler's fighting style. Thanks to you, I figured out my true fighting style. Thanks, Gretel. You're welcome. Makes me think of how pathetic I was before. Yeah, it's like Bito said. I've had a handicap up until now. I'll acknowledge that. New rule understood. I have my own way of fighting. I'll show you it. That willpower is good, I like it. Then try using it right away, this blue truth of yours. Yeah, I'll use it. With this blue truth, I'll break apart your witch theory, which states that only a witch culprit was possible because everyone had alibis. This is my truth. Ushimi Kinzo is already dead. Therefore, the true number of people on the island is 17. By adding an unknown person X to them, it becomes 18 people. By supposing that this person X exists, the crimes will be possible even if all 17 people have alibis. In short, if you keep preventing us from meeting with Father, we'll have to accept the following theory. Simply put, Father is already dead. But you're hiding that because you don't want the inheritance to be distributed. Ridiculous. That is correct. This is worse than ridiculous. I have never heard such an insult. It'd even be possible for us to check by force whether he's alive or dead with the police there to witness it. Isn't that right, Eva Nisan? Yes. That's right, Nisan. There are all sorts of ways we could set you up. We could easily arrange for a situation where you'd have to hold a meeting with Father under the supervision of a third party. Still, I think that would bring a lot of shame to the Ujimiya family. That's why I'm making this proposal. Here we have the responsibilities and duties of the caretaker, and a penalty in the worst case scenario. If you consent to those terms, we'll be able to refrain from doing something like dragging Father outside. Yeah, that's right, Aniki. Didn't you just say it yourself? You're carrying out your natural duties as Dad's caretaker. Kyrie's condition shouldn't be anything to worry about, right? Why this overreaction? Are you really that worried about having the position of successor dragged out from under you if Dad dies something other than natural death? Or else what? Do you have some reason to think Father might die something other than a natural death? How could I? I see. Now I too understand how Father feels. How pitiful his later years have been for him, unable to die even as he pleases. Yes, his later years truly have been pitiful, and the thought that these later years are already something of the past is exactly what we're suspecting. You could completely clear the suspicion away just by letting us meet with Father. So even after being humiliated by us this much, you still won't allow us to meet with him, Kraus Nisan? Father is probably already dead. The corpse may have been disposed of in absolute secrecy, and after taking all the wealth for yourself as Father's agent, you will make it seem that he disappeared until 7 years pass, making Father a corpseless member of the deceased. I'm sorry, but please don't take it badly, okay? I'm just playing detective here. How rude can one be? You have no right to stay in this mansion. Leave immediately. I won't permit you to cross the threshold of this house again. It worked last year, but you've used up your luck if you thought it'd work this year too. Father is in a bad mood, so he can't meet with us. That was plenty suspicious last year, and yet you're doing it again. If you really wanted to fake being Father's agent and grab up all his assets, you should have done it a little bit more speedily, making him disappear without waiting for today's family conference. You really are naive, Kraus Oni-sama. I have no idea what you are. However, if it's a fact that Father's in a bad mood, and you're preventing us from meeting him as part of your responsibilities as his caretaker, then it's a very wonderful thing you're doing. In that case, if you just accept our conditions, everything will be settled here and now. After all, you care so greatly for Father, Kraus Nisan. There's no way Father would die in a manner that leads to trouble during the autopsy. After all, Father hates hospitals, so he'll pass away in his study, right? An autopsy will certainly be carried out no matter what happens. The only way to kill him without an autopsy would be for him to disappear. Enough, Kirie-san. I think you've bullied Nissan enough. Eva rebuked Kirie in a sickeningly kind voice. Considering the situation, that was impossible, which is why it was sickening. I'm sure Nissan has his own difficulties to worry about as well as his pride. True, Nissan might consider that one of his natural duties, but if you force him to put it on paper and assign penalties, I could hardly blame him for getting upset. Don't you agree, Rosa? Yes, that's right. She might have made light of Kraus Nissan's pride as the eldest son a little too much. I'd feel bad for him if we forced him to sign a statement regarding the duties of the caretaker, as Kirie-san has laid them out. That's right. You're doing a good job, Aniki. Taking that into account, we might consider avoiding all that about signing strange papers and worst-case penalties, and leave everything to you. You people. Not just Ava, but Rudolph and Rosa as well, with unnerving smiles on their faces as though they'd planned this beforehand, began closing in on Kraus. They now understood perfectly how Kirie had cornered Kraus and exactly where she was prepared to compromise. We were talking about a signed statement regarding the responsibilities of the caretaker, but even without signing such a thing, you can make it so we'll never demand a meeting with Father again. But if you can prove your fitness as Father's caretaker, with a form of guarantee other than a signed statement, that is. Are you telling me to pay security money? Hilarious! The security money will be paid to Ava-san, Rudolph-san, and Rosa-san, 3 billion yen each. As a deposit, you will transfer 10% of that, 300 million yen before the year is out. 9 billion? I don't have that kind of money. After Father passes away, you should be able to work it out. We've managed to investigate at least that far. You should be able to handle the deposit of 900 million yen in your current financial situation. And it should be even possible for you to borrow it from Father, right? There's no need for obvious charades anymore. How unpleasant. Truly unpleasant. It is at that. Even just the discussion of Father's inheritance was far too disrespectful. Father's already dead? My husband is hiding that and keeping all the money for himself? I have had enough of this. None of you are qualified to bear the name Ushimi any longer. Calm down, Natsui-san. We've all said that we need to. Why don't we leave it at that for now? This is happening all of a sudden on a massive scale. We might even be getting agitated ourselves. Why don't we take a break for a while and cool our heads? Kraus Nissan probably needs a little time himself. Right, Kraus Nissan? Time? Why would I need something like that? Don't worry, don't worry. We aren't thinking of anything shady. We're just so eager to see Father that we've started grumbling a bit. And Kraus Nissan, I know real well how you're dying to get back at us for all the things we said. If you're willing to go so far, you just need to let us meet with him. Right? Isn't that right? You just got a bit stubborn and it felt awkward to say you'd let us see him, after saying we couldn't all those times. Isn't that it? Right, right? It certainly does seem that my husband has lost his composure slightly, just like the rest of you have. We were only refusing stubbornly out of respect for Father's desire not to meet with everyone. Indeed, that's right. It was turning into another sibling fight like the old days, and I started feeling stubborn as well. Let us cool our heads. I understand how much you all want to meet with Father. I will pass that on to him. I'll find some way to convince Father to meet with you. Will that do? Yeah, I think it'd be okay to give Kraus Nissan some time to persuade Father. Yep. We're counting on you, Aniki. Please persuade him to meet with us. After all, you're Dad's caretaker. And as for persuading him, let's set a limit onto sometime tonight, okay? When tomorrow comes, we'll confirm Father's well-being, even if we have to break down the door to his study. You have no problems with that, I take it? Nissan? Do as you like. I see, it seems even the time I've been given to persuade him is short. Let us go, Natsui. We shall ask him to join us for dinner at least. Right. Kraus left the parlor with Natsui. Once their footsteps disappeared, Hideyoshi took a deep breath, smirking and flopping onto the sofa. Kirie-san, you're a frightening person. Sorry for speaking out of turn. I apologize. No, you didn't corner him like we'd originally planned, but in the end, this was even better. Just like always, I've got to bow my head to you. But can he really prepare 900 million? I believe we estimated that 750 million would be the most Kraus-Nissan could afford with his current financial situation. Isn't 900 million gouging him too much? If he can't do it, that's fine too. If we do something like lowering it to 700 million so Kraus-Nissan can save face, it look like we're compromising and it'll be easier to settle, right? And if he really does come out with 900 million, that's even better. Nissan is probably having a strategy meeting with Natsui-san about now. It really will be interesting to see what kind of twisted logic our proud Nissan comes up with an excuse. Convincing father, there's no way he can. There's no way to convince someone who isn't even there. The siblings have all come, despite their various circumstances, for this annual family conference. Kraus and Natsui could be seen in Kinzo's dimly lit study. Every once in a while thunder could be heard, and the dimly lit room flickered with light. It seemed the island would be closed off by the storm very soon. Father, please just once show those disrespectful people the majesty of the head. It's useless. The large shadow of a person standing by the window, his majestic back facing them, answered quietly and forcefully. He hung his head and shook. Eventually they could hear a mumbling laugh over his shoulder. It's useless, it's all useless. 3 months left to live? An almost finished geezer? To whom exactly are you referring? You fools. Did you wander over here because your siblings threatened you? Know your shame. As Kinzo turned and brushed his cape, it flashed forcefully through the room's stale air. That air pressure truly signified Ushime Kinzo's majesty and willpower itself. After being blown back by the wind, it wasn't strange that Kraus landed on his butt. As though showing consideration for Kraus, who looked as though his legs had been swept out from under him, Natsui also crouched down. Then, with a thunk, Kinzo's footsteps approached with a heft that signified his dignity. Father? You fool! I heard from Canon. Just how far did you pathetically let your siblings lead you around by the nose? Father, my husband is doing his best to protect your honor. Without lending an ear to Natsui's words, Kinzo extended his palm to Kraus's collar as the latter sat on the floor. No, he curled his fingers, leaving only his pointer finger out, then took that finger and pressed it up against Kraus's collar, twisted it, and slowly, with just one finger, picked Kraus up into the air. You really are a pathetic fool. You let your wife speak in your defense? If you have an excuse, give it yourself. Kraus clawed at the air. Kinzo's brawny finger was choking him. He couldn't even open his mouth, much less talk. However, even if he had been able to open his mouth, as he was now, there was no way he'd be able to think of an excuse that Kinzo would accept. Still, how could this power be described? No one would call Kinzo an old man after seeing his superhuman strength. Father, my husband is fighting in his own way. Please forgive him. Natsui, fighting is a process you go through before winning. The process you go through before losing isn't called fighting. That's called being pathetic. You call this my successor? As thunder roared, Kinzo laughed heartily as though nothing could be more pleasant. When he finished laughing, he threw his son away like he was scrap paper, slamming against the wall. Dear, are you okay? This scene in the anime is kind of actually intimidating. Watching Kinzo like pick him up, just like a couple fingers and fling him across the room. They did a good job, I think. I rewatched the scene just the other day just to familiarize myself again with episode 4. Kraus slid down the wall, rubbing his throat as though in pain. Natsui ran up to him and looked after him. Without showing any interest in the two of them, Kinzo returned to the space near the window, as though he had been there the whole time, and looked up at the thunderclouds of misfortune. I thought I would have no regrets in my life if only I could meet Beatrice. But it seems it won't go so smoothly. It was promised from the beginning that nothing received from the witch would remain. However, the Ushimiya family is not the property of the witch. Who is fit to succeed that name? It seems that this alone must be resolved by my own hand. Rejoice, Kraus. I have changed my mind. Father? So... I have no desire to have dinner with you cowards. However, I will attend the family conference afterwards. Father? Thank you very much. Hey, Risuke, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you're having a good day. There, I shall make a great announcement regarding the succession of the head. I will resolve your foolish quarrel myself. Oh, thanks for the rain of frogs, Risuke. Oh, thanks for calling Kirby. So, we're actually going to be wrapping up here, but next stream I will call Kirby right away so we can... Oh, I'll call Kirby and do the Kirby lip sync right away to preserve your redeem, since you spent the points. But this is a good stopping point for today. We've gone through, like, the first 5 or so segments of Episode 4, and Episode 4 has about 20 segments and then the tea party, so we'll be kind of keeping it in track with the same number of videos we've had for the other ones. But this episode, again, is kind of interesting. We start off with like all the backstory about Ange and Maria, and honestly it got a little bit like, I don't say tiring or boring, but it was very like almost like slice of life and nothing interesting happening for a while. And then suddenly Ange was chased by all the bodyguards, and then and then we find out about Kinzo and then the Blue Truth. So we're pretty much set up for the entire thing. So let's have another look at the system. So like we have the usual characters here. You notice that Beatrice is not on this screen anymore. But this screen has changed a little bit. So now we have Bern Castell here. She's looking after Ange. Lambda Delta is supporting Beatrice. We have Maria, who's this weird, like, go-in-between between Ange and Beatrice. And then we have Beatrice sponsoring, I guess you could say, Kinzo. But instead of Kinzo, it says Goldsmith. Now, I'm kind of surprised this has been added to the notes already, but they will mention it in probably the next stream, so it's part of the story. I'm just surprised they added it to the notes so early. But Goldsmith is kind of the name that Kinzo uses for his, I guess, magical name. I guess it sounds cooler and it makes sense because he was able to like conjure up all the gold to save the Ushimiya family from like disaster. So you can see it's kind of like spelled out here in a kind of different way. So I feel like Kinzo's relationship with the other characters is very different in this episode, and the way Beatrice treats him as well is a little different, you'll see. Like, remember in the first episode, he was actually really respectful to Natsuki, and he was even nice to her, and then now it's kind of like, whatever. So again, we're gonna see, like, new things pop up about these characters. Oh, and then there's this section, which is the future section. So we have Ava, who of course has passed away in the future. Okanogi, who kind of runs her company alongside with Ange. Ange, who herself is running away from the family to investigate. We have her bodyguard, Amakusa, who you kind of briefly met today. He looks pretty cool. It's like, there's not very many male characters in Umineko. There's a lot of female characters, and they're all cool, don't get me wrong, but it's nice to have, like, more cool male characters, besides, like, of course, the adults, who are just kind of middle-aged men. And then we have Kasumi, who is, again, Kirie's younger sister, who is still part of their branch family, or their family, the Sumadera family, which is like a competing family of the Ushiyamiyas, and now she's after Ange to try to get the Ushiyamiya family wealth. So a lot more stuff going on here, a lot more, I guess, intrigue, I guess you could say. It's kind of coming together in the way that it's framing it, and episode 4 is really interesting. I find at times it's kind of slow. It's kind of like episode 2 in my opinion. There's like times where it's really slow, but there's times where it's really interesting. But I'm excited to get through it because I feel like, in my opinion, I haven't read it again since, but I remember episode 5, 6, and 7, and 8 are pretty much like non-stop roller coasters. Like, they don't have that much downtime compared to 1, 2, 3, and 4 because there's so much setup there. So I hope you guys look forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting there. We'll do more Umineko streams throughout the week to catch up on the ones that we missed. I wanted to do one tomorrow, but I'm not sure if we'll get to it because on Friday we're challenging the super boss of Octopath, and if I don't get enough grinding done off stream or preparation done off stream, I might need to do it on stream tomorrow. So tomorrow we might be doing an Octopath unarchived grinding stream just to get ready for it, but we'll see how much I can fit in. We'll still be doing Umineko next week. I'll try to fit in a couple extra ones just to catch up. But we may or may not finish Umineko episode 4 before Octopath 2 comes out, which I'm fine with. But yeah, anyways. Thank you so much for joining me on stream. Thank you so much for all the redeems. Thank you so much for stopping by and listening to me read. I know these streams get kind of long and less interactive, but I really appreciate you all being here and enjoying it and watching the story unfold as well. And I'm glad you liked my Sakutaro voice. I do like Sakutaro. He's really cute. And it's kind of weird to have a character like that in Umineko where, like, even the whole conversation with Maria going to the store and, like, getting Sakutaro was very sweet, which is also, like, not something we see in the series very much. But we'll see if that gets turned on its head later. And you know it will. Let's have a look at Twitch and see if anyone's streaming. I'm pretty sure a bunch of people I know are still streaming. Okay. A couple people are still streaming. Who should we drop in on? Let's drop in on Remy. He looks like he's doing like an eating spicy noodles challenge. That'll be fun. Okay, stick around for a raid, and I will see you guys next stream. Take care. Bye-bye.